When the game gets rough and this life just seems so tough, make we talk, my people, make we talk. When this town becomes an ugly place, don't let it erase the smile from your face. Make we talk, people, make we talk. Conversation is the key, a guiding light for you and me. Spark a talk and you will see. Conflict solver A to Z. World leaders master the art of self-defense just by talk. So people, make we talk. Hey, we're living in a world that on ourselves we must depend. Make we talk, people.
Good evening. Welcome to a special edition of the Make We Talk program. This evening, we're going to speak to a former Jamaican ambassador to the United Kingdom, Ambassador Aloun Samba. Her Excellency, the Honorable Ambassador Aloun Samba. We also have our guest this evening, Wilfred Rattigan, Luke George Cooke, and also Conrad O'Brien of News Talk 93 FM. I'm gonna start earlier than expected. We're gonna speak about what is going on with a plane crash that happened in St. Elizabeth. There are various questions being asked about that plane crash, and we need some answers pertaining to that. So we're going to dig deep in that also. We're going to speak about so many things. We're going to take your calls. We're going to give out the number for you to call in. We're also going to do that. We're going to speak some more about the letter that Dr. Rupert Francis wrote to the Jamaican ambassador and by extension, the Jamaican government. Why is it that they haven't responded to Dr. Francis? We will dig deeper in more with we'll dig deeper more in it with Wilfred Rattigan as soon as he gets on. We're gonna ask Ambassador Aloun Samba her opinion, her comment on the letter that is written. And if the letter was written to her as an ambassador to London, what would be her response? What is the protocol? We're going to speak to Ambassador Aloun Samba about that. There are so many things happening. Today we hear that a well-known American singer, an actress, praised Jamaica for being the country that she loves, in the sense of she loves to come to Jamaica for the food and the ambience of its people. We're going to speak about what is going on in Montego Bay. The Prime Minister of Jamaica went on a tour in Montego Bay, and you can hear people in the background saying to them, we can't keep our door open, and chicken back and so forth, gone sky high. We're going to speak about that also. But in the meantime, as soon as we get our guests to come on, we are gonna segue into the details of a lot of stuff that's going on in Jamaica, not only in Jamaica, around the globe. Jamaica is well renowned as the land of wood and water. Jamaica is well renowned of bars per square mile, of churches per square mile. Jamaica is well renowned of reggae music. People love Jamaican reggae music. And the late Robert Nesta Marley, Bob Marley, is the one who put Jamaica's reggae on the map around the globe. And yet he hasn't been named as a national hero. And people from all walks of life love to come to Jamaica and love to listen to the reggae music. You go some certain places around the globe and you said you're from Jamaica. You mean Bob Marley's country. That's what they greet you as. Our country is a very unique country, a very unique place for us all to live, for us all to work. But sometimes when you look at it, you hear the Governor General, every time the Governor General speak, he said that Jamaica is a place to live, work, and raise family. That's their 2030 vision. That is their 2030 vision. And so, my friends, many of us ask the question time and time again, will we reach that 2030 vision as a people? Will we? Those are the questions that is being asked by numerous of Jamaicans around the globe and in Jamaica. We're waiting on our guests to come on in. We're waiting on all our guests. Conrad O'Brien, talk show host of News Talk 93 FM, straight up. Luke George Cooke, human rights activist. Wilfred Rattigan, retired FBI agent, attorney at law, talk show host. Okay, we can see Ambassador Samba. Ambassador, there you is. Unmute your mic. I can't hear you. Unmute your mic. Uh-oh. Oh, Lord. Luke, welcome. Hold on for me. I'm getting Ambassador to the same device not connected. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I have to call her on her phone. We're waiting to see what is going on with Ambassador Luma Samba. She came up, but I don't know what's going on. Maybe she's going to give me a call. If she gives me a call, I'll have to hand over a segment of the program to Luke. Luke continues what we can do on.
New Year. New Year, man.
Mr. Cooke, welcome to the program. Happy New Year to you, sir.
Boy, I tell you, Happy New Year to you, Jeffrey Tavares, and your listeners. I hope that you had a splendorous Christmas and you're looking forward to a bonus New Year.
I've heard those words in a long time. I don't know what's going on with Ambassador Samba, but I just saw her came in. Let's pray and hope that we can
I saw her smiles.
Yes, when Ambassador smiles, you know, it lights up a room.
Oh, it lightens your heart, eh?
Yes, it does, because... Oh, Luke, continue for me. She's calling me. So continue for me, please, for a couple of minutes.
Where you left off was we were talking about Vision 2030. Okay. And it was your aspiration that we are able to achieve the things that are set out in the Vision 2030. Jeffrey, I think we have to extend that vision beyond 2030. There is so much things that we have to be thinking about in terms of global warming, just the crime at home, the uncertainty of what is happening with the two wars going on between Israel and Palestine, the war between Russia and Ukraine. Recently, we saw a second beating of a teenager that is almost left in a situation where we're still not certain what is the recent update on that. And I think that overall, just the concern of Jamaicans home and abroad about what is happening in our own country. So certainly we have a lot of challenges, but I believe that together we can overcome them. I don't see any obstacles that Jamaicans can't overcome. where them say we look about with Talawa. So I am looking forward to a brand new year. I'm looking forward to this program and its listeners coming up with some great ideas that we can put together in a policy document and have a fulsome discussion with the government of Jamaica. I think the Jamaican people are just crying for a change, and we have to be the change that we want to see in this world. So I'm optimistic. I think that we still live in the greatest country on the planet, and out of many, we are still one people. I'm just delighted that Jamaicans are still committed to the challenge at hand of believing in Jamaica and doing everything that is possible to help this country, as broken as it is, to be restored. So this new year, my wish for Jamaica, and I would ask everybody else on the program tonight to make a wish and commit ourselves to seeing it, is that we need to create a new paradigm shift, not for just some people in Jamaica, but for all Jamaicans. And we must first start off by being honest and truthful to what it is that we would like to see start to influence those people directly within our own company and our associate to believe in Jamaica again and to spread the message of hope. Do whatever we can do, whatever little that we can do in our own small corners, and believe that the one cocoa will fill the basket. I'm not ready to surrender my powers to any authorities that is not willing to put Jamaica above their own personal gain. And so here's the new beginning, and here's to my hope. Jamaica will be a place where we can do business, raise a family, and we certainly can get the accountability and the transparency that we need so that we can end the influence of corruption and we can deliver services to the Jamaican people. And we can live in a more peaceful and harmonious society. My wish is that we can live in a more peaceful, harmonious, respectful society where we grow greater tolerance for each other and help each other to achieve what it is at the community level
Yes,
and at the
indeed.
country and at the country level and at the country level.
Thank you very much, Luke George Cooke. You know, I can leave the program to Luke. Luke continue the program, you know, because he's a great host. We're waiting on our other guests to come on. Ambassador Assamba will come on at 7:30. We're going to speak about the letter to the Jamaican ambassador from Rupert Francis. We're going to speak also about the shadow cabinet of the People's National Party with Ambassador Aloun Samba. So we're just waiting on other guests to come on. You know, Luke, you heard about the plane crash that happened in St. Elizabeth?
Yeah, it has been in the news. The police says that they are looking into the various stories surrounding the crash. I have not heard them come back with a report. I'm also certain that the aviation authority themselves are doing some groundwork to find out if there was a difficulty and to ascertain what could have led to the crash. Then you know that there is the wider people opinion is another drug plane that was just brought down and items might have been moved from the aircraft.
The question must be asked though, Luke George Cooke, and I hope Wilfred Rattigan come on in here because he has more intel and when it comes on to things like this. The question must be asked though, Luke George Cooke. A plane enters Jamaica's airspace. What happened to the JDF or Southcom in Florida especially the Jamaica Defense Force or the airport in Montego Bay and in Kingston. How this plane was allowed to come into Jamaica's airspace and you hear nothing from civil aviation. Well, civil aviation gave out a report. I'm going to play that report also. Go ahead.
No, but that's the question that is on the mind of a lot of people. Again, it would be good to hear a joint press conference between the police and the civil aviation authority as to how it is that it was not detected. Was there a mayday call? Can they identify the ownership of the aircraft and why it would have been in the Jamaican airspace? Certainly to ascertain what difficulty the aircraft might have experienced that would have led to the crash. But there's a fulsome report that we have to wait. But as again I said, in the minds of public opinion, people are saying that more and more that we're not going to get any information. I want to believe that we're at a stage in the country life where we need to understand how important it is to give the assurance to the Jamaican people that we have the competency level to do the investigation and to deliver the report and to prosecute if there is anybody to be prosecuted. But like many things, Jeffrey, these things happen. There are a 7-day wonder. You don't hear much about it. And I'm a little bit surprised when I hear like the minister will come out and he will criticize Rupert Francis for submitting a letter asking for government to be more accountable to the people. But he will not come out and give the timely report. Well, let me not preempt him. That he will come out and give us a timely report as to what are the circumstances surrounding this crash.
You know, when you hear a criticism from the Minister of National Security, re the Jamaican diaspora, you ask yourself the question, are these people really want the Jamaican diaspora to be helping Jamaica? Because if you get such comment from the Minister of National Security, re the Jamaican diaspora, you ask yourself the question, I don't think they really want the Jamaican diaspora to help them at all.
I'm not sure what comment that you're talking to. Can you highlight what the comment was?
The comment was that in a previous conversation on Let's Connect that is put on by the Jamaican Embassy in Washington, where the Minister of National Security, Mr. Harris Chang, the Honorable Harris Chang, and Deputy Prime Minister, was on, he made it clear. But the government of Jamaica don't want the diaspora help. All they need to do is send their money. If they want to come and make a speech, fine. But to help to solve the crime pandemic in Jamaica, they don't want their help.
Well, Jeffrey, here's what is true. That is reckless of the Minister of National Security, and I'm just based on what you said. Let me just say that would be reckless of any minister. It would call for your immediate dismissal from the post, because clearly, if you have institutionalized a Jamaican diaspora through the embassies, your embassies and your missions abroad to get the greater input from the Jamaicans who have gone and have acquired skill set. And in many other countries, it is your diaspora community that supports your development activities. Certainly in your Vision 2030, you have mentioned them, and you keep a biannual conference with these people to basically have what you call a pool of networking and a pool of professionals who can help to guide Jamaica in many areas. In the areas of medicine, in the area of education, in the area of science, and the list goes on. for you to say that and to say that you basically see that community as a prostitute ring and you're taking their money, then Rupert Francis' letter resonate with the Jamaican living abroad, that they must stand up and said, no, we will not be used like how you use the Jamaican people. Every 5 years, you come around and ask them for their vote with the promise that their lives and the lives of the generation that they will now produce will be better off. So you guys are a powerful network, Jeffrey, and that is why I emphasize the importance of the collective will of the Jamaican diaspora, because it's not as if this diaspora is not recognized. It is sitting in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and it is recognized because they engage you. They're engaging you. They come abroad, they make speeches. Whenever there is a crisis at home, they reach out to you. So I would now say that let us now withhold what it is that we are funding the government for. We enter into a process of a strategic negotiation process, and we solidify what it is, the role that the Jamaican diaspora must, and it should be a call for Dr. Horace Chang not just to apologize, but to go. Jamaicans abroad are just have the same right as Jamaicans who are here. And many of these people have dual citizenship, and sometimes they hold their green card holders in other countries. So to speak about them as if to say that they are our cash cow, or we hold them as our debit card is not just disrespectful, is egregious and disingenuous. So
yes, but Luke,
the thing is that them have too much lobbyists in the diaspora who, when these things are uttered, they don't view it as anything but, look, they might be the minority. It's not just the US, Canada, and the UK anymore. You have diaspora all over the place. Call a country right now. And,
yes, there's a lot of Jamaican people in the
you have a whole heap of Jamaican that live there. And Jamaicans are not idiots, and we know how to stage our we know how to stage a meaningful position and to stand up to the powers that be.
Yes,
because
but Luke, let me ask this question, Luke George. Let me ask you this question here. That plane that crash landed in
St. Elizabeth.
You believe it? You believe it's some cocaine or ganja plane? Because
Jeffrey, let me tell you what I don't. I'm not going to speculate. It is widely believed by many Jamaicans that whenever there is an island-wide power cut, all sorts of things are moving around in Jamaica.
There was an island-wide power cut on Friday night?
Huh?
Was there an island-wide power cut on Friday night?
That plane might have been flying below the radar, but was going someplace. Now, you're saying that there is no manifesto to show that this plane would have entered, or this plane is a local plane, and that by the aviation authorities, that it was known to them that it was going to go to St. Elizabeth or wherever it was going. And so I'm not going to speculate. I would love to see that we are paying men and women in uniform who should have the intel to carry out this investigation. We do have the Jamaican Aviation Authority that regulates and monitor flights coming in and out of Jamaica. And so it would be good for them to come out and assure us that our national security is not in any way threatened, because they have the investigative power. They're gathering the evidence, and prosecution will be brought against anybody if it was not a situation where this plane might have malfunctioned or got into difficulties after taking off. I'm yet to see our agency, though, aggressively address us in a timely way and give us the assurance that the competency level of our people are not just are tested, and that they are able to produce the results that we need. So I am awaiting, Jeffrey. I don't want to get into what I think. I don't think it was bringing oil from Venezuela. I hope it was not bringing guns from Haiti. But I'm honestly hoping that the Aviation Authority and the police and the JDF will tell us something soon.
But a thing like this, where this is not the first time plane has crashed in Rocky Point in St. Elizabeth, and you hear nothing about it. All I can hear from the minister, the occupants of the plane has left the country already. So do you expect you're gonna hear something from the Minister of National Security on all of them from tomorrow morning at the press conference?
Mr. Jeffrey, I am hoping in this new dispensation where I am believing that the same old can continue, and that people will say, oh, this is Jamaica, you expect to get anything or you get to get any information, that we will see a press conference that the relevant bodies will come out and say what it is. No, whether or not it's going to convince the Jamaican people that this is not a cover-up, because the sad part of it is that the widest cross-section of Jamaica do not believe anything that comes out of the mouth of its government. And government has to do something in short order.
We have lost you, Luke. You muted your mic. We're speaking to Luke. Go ahead.
Yeah, the government in short order has to give the assurance to the Jamaican people that it can produce, it can respond, and it can deliver to the people of Jamaica. There is an integrity deficit that this administration and successful administration will have. They have carried it. I don't see them actively, and this is where I'm a little bit peeved. I don't see them actively going out there to try to change the narrative in a positive way. When our people have lost the assurance in their government, the people that them elect to represent them, the people who are supposed to be working on, it puts us in muddy waters, really muddy waters, and people have lost confidence in this administration, and successfully whoever will take the reign when an election is called, if one is ever called, because it seems like we're going forever and ever and ever without.
Mr. Cooke, the Jamaican people must stand up, because it can't continue. Jamaica is a democracy. There's no dictatorialship going on. As far as I'm concerned, they were elected by the people, of the people, and for the people. And if something has changed overnight, let the people of Jamaica know that Jamaica is becoming a dictatorial state.
Well, I don't think they have to tell Jamaicans that it has become a dictatorial state. I think, Jeffrey, a lot of Jamaicans are afraid to speak out publicly for fear of backlash, and somebody coming to take you from underneath your bed and report that you had a chimney under there with you. You certainly see what happens many times when people talk, that they are muzzled by either people calling them on the phone, or all of a sudden they're blacklisted from public life and their well-being is threatened. The Jamaican people, I believe, are so downtrodden, and they feel a sense of hopelessness. They certainly do not want to become a victim of the senseless violence that we're seeing happening in the nation. And so, when I hear people say the Jamaican people must get up, I don't think they don't get up. I think that the fear factor has become has a crippling effect. And few people like me will publicly come out, because we might have to go plant some yam in our backyard and make sure so we have some callaloo, and basically understand that publicly speaking can endanger your own life, because supporters from a party can see you in the public sphere and say, oh, you run up your mouth, and before you know it, you become the victim of the senseless violence. Jamaican is almost like a mob if you speak the truth. And one the famous "You Small" quote was, "He who plays by the rule gets shafted." So it's how we can teach people to advocate in their private spaces by sending letters to the editor and not necessarily publicly putting themselves out there if they are not prepared to get up. But I believe that there is a movement among the people for change, and that we may see people rising up and speaking up for their rights a little bit more, Jeffrey Tavares.
Yes, but look, when you look at what is going on in the country, you know, you hear people saying that, you know, people from the Labour Party and others, that there's prosperity going on in the country. The Prime Minister said that the crime is going down. And he used a word that I'm trying to remember the word that he used. Although crime is going down, there's a myth or something of the sort that say that crime is going up. So in other words, is crime going down or is crime going up? One of the two of them. We need to know. It is quite obvious.
The evidence points to crime going up, and you can see that based on
that crime going up or down.
It's going up.
Okay.
And you can see that based on the report. The challenge, Jeffrey, is that I don't think any government has ever demonstrated, in my mind, that they have the integrity to give the full picture of what is happening. Certainly, they don't want to look unelectable, but you don't need binoculars, nor do you need a crystal ball, because if you just look at the crime rates, the statistics for the various years, Jeffrey, you can see that there are increments of it going up. Whether they want to believe that it's trending down, that is what a government is going to sell to you, because they have to sell the best image of their administration to the detriment of the country and its people. So for any government to come out, if government tell me that crime is going down, I live in Jamaica. And that's not true. That is not true. But for them to admit and then to come up now with a strategic plan of how to combat crime, you have to start at Gordon House, because at Gordon House, there are people who may be the beneficiary of the spoils of the scarce benefits and crime that is taking place. So it has to be, people have to know that when they go to vote, are they voting because they come from a long heritage of labor rights, or them come from a long heritage of PMP and they want to carry on the tradition, but they don't want to push for the change that they need.
Let me play something here that was just sent to me a while ago. The Prime Minister said crime is going down.
Jamaica recorded the lowest level of crime in more than 22 years. Let's work harder for 2024.
Look, what is your views on that?
Those people who are putting that out suffer from lyritis.
It is coming from the office of the Prime Minister?
Look here, Jeffrey, again, PR people are there to control the negative image of the administration to the detriment of the Jamaican people. We have inherited a history of people lying to us until something happens, and then some major league come out, you find out say, what you're being told is not the truth. Now, just ask any Jamaican citizen how safe them feel, and then will tell you, more people are applying for licensed firearm than I've ever seen before. And these are just ordinary Jamaican. And you know, it is interesting that a lot of those people that are applying are women who basically feel that they are not safe. More people are importing the illegal pepper spray into the country. People have bought more machetes than they have ever had before. And almost every Jamaican walk around with a scissors, something, an ice pick or a screwdriver to defend themselves at any given moment. The Prime Minister and his cabinet may feel safe because we have afforded them under the position that they now have their own private security guards, and therefore they are not faced with the same challenges that we are faced with. But Jamaica is in a situation where the mindset is that turn your yard because you might step out of your yard and lose your life, and you could be very well in your house into the sanctuary where you're supposed to feel more safe and in that environment. But we're finding out that it's not so. So unless the Prime Minister live in a different Jamaica from where I'm living, then me no know. Me no know. But again, this is where people can come out and talk. You can put up something on TikTok. You have other means of taking on the government without going directly. You can create a name and you come out under that name and you express your public opinion. But I don't necessarily feel safe as a Jamaican male walking around in Jamaica these days. So you try to limit your activity so you're in your private space, and hopefully nobody now gonna come there so come murder you. But going out in the days, you have to take into consideration, am I going to make it back home? And therefore, what is a contingency plan? There are people in Jamaica now that I know that are living in, but you just say them paranoid because they just feel any day now that they cannot that they can be attacked. You find that
look, you live in Jamaica and you know about areas in Jamaica that myself not even know about, in the sense of you going to the inner city areas and so forth. What are you hearing from the people in the lower end of Jamaican society?
Over the last decade, Jeffrey, what we have seen is that more people have turned to what you would call the so-called Dan culture to try to resolve a lot of the conflict that they're having. People are more about jungle justice than reporting matters to the police. They find that they think it gives them a better answer. It's faster. So over the last decade, you have seen the creation of the chicken coop, where certain communities now are enforcing their own guerrilla laws on their community members. So if you're raped, you can get your hand and your foot broke if you don't lose your life, and you're put in a chicken coop, and every day you're tormented until the powers that be. Or you have an altercation with somebody and you pay a man, depending on what the price is. If the price is right, you pay a man and the man go out there and do the damage. And that is because people have lost their confidence.
Oh Lord, we having a call coming in, Mr. Cooke.
People have lost their confidence in the Jamaica justice system. Certainly you hear the people are saying that, oh, the courts don't give you justice. And as a result of that, Jeffrey Tavares, we have had to create things like restorative justice, where the courts now are recommending what we used to call basically neighborhood watch, where we try to settle dispute between different persons who are having infractions.
Yes. Luke, hold on for me, Luke. I think we have Ambassador Aloun Samba. Are you hearing us, Ambassador? Hold on for me, please. I think there's something else going on here. Go ahead.
I'm seeing you.
Yes. We're hearing you now, Ambassador. Go ahead. Ambassador, welcome to the program. Ambassador, welcome to the program. Oh, Lord, what's going on here? Ambassador, are you hearing us now?
Yes, I'm hearing you and I'm seeing you.
Yes. Welcome to the program, Ambassador.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Luke, are you hearing the Ambassador?
Yeah, I can hear loud and clear.
Okay, Ambassador. Your views on the letter that was written by Dr. Rupert Francis to the Jamaican ambassador to Washington. If a letter like that came to you, what would you do?
Well, the first thing that I would do, well, when I was High Commissioner, which would be the equivalent of the ambassador to the US,
Yes.
is that I would have had to get in touch with my headquarters and say, I have got this letter. These are my thoughts on it. Do you have any instructions to give me? I would try to have a response, even if it is just a holding response to whoever wrote the letter. Well, it is simply the way that I operated. When somebody takes the time to write to the representative of their country in another country, the least that is expected is an acknowledgement that such a letter had been written and that I have received the letter. Now, sometimes it is not always easy to respond to all the details in the letter immediately, but a holding response would at least be the courteous thing to do, to say to the person who has written that I have received your letter, I am having discussions on the matter, and I will get back in touch with you. And usually I say by a certain time. Mm-hmm. And if that time passed because I haven't got the instructions or directions from the headquarters, I would respond again and says, I know I had said that you would hear from me. I'm still awaiting instructions. I have not forgotten your correspondence, something like that.
Yes.
Is what I would have done. And certainly that's the way how I operated.
So, Ambassador, you're talking about headquarters, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Kingston, Jamaica.
Yes. And as ambassadors and high commissioners, we had a direct line to the minister, and we also had a direct line to the permanent secretary. Mm. I remember, especially because we had the time difference. There were times that I called my minister and I knew it was like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Especially if something was really urgent. He would see the phone ringing and he says, I bet it's Ambassador Samba on the phone. Yes. Truly, because if it is something urgent, then I had his instructions that I could call him whenever I needed to.
So, Ambassador, I'm going to have Luke George come in and ask a question if he has any for you. Ambassador, what I want to ask you though, a letter of this nature come across your desk from a well-known Jamaican, both in Jamaica and in the diaspora, and you don't see it fit, Ambassador, to answer the individual or the group? Don't you think that there's something wrong there, Ambassador?
Well, let me tell you this. I would respond to anybody who wrote to me as High Commissioner, the equivalent of the ambassador, acknowledging the letter, as I said before. In terms of giving a detailed response to all the points that were made, I probably wouldn't be in a position to give a detailed response immediately because there were some issues that would need a wider consultation with the Foreign Affairs Ministry to allow me to respond. But one thing I can tell you, in my experience as High Commissioner for Jamaica and as ambassador to a number of countries, is that if ever I felt I did not have the answer myself, and I needed to consult with headquarters, meaning either the minister or the permanent secretary, depending on what the issue is, because there were some issues that were policy issues, and you'd have to go to the minister. And there are some issues that were administrative issues, and the permanent secretary is the one that you would go to. And so I would have to respond. It doesn't matter who it is, more so if it is such an issue that is being talked about in Jamaica,
Yes.
clearly has been talked about in the diaspora, why the representatives felt the need to write such a letter.
Mhm.
Now, Jeffrey, I must say that I have seen somewhere where comments have been made that Rupert Wilmot Francis might have been on a frolic of his own. I don't know that to be so. And also, I know that Rupert has been working with a group, because there are other persons in the group who I know.
Yes.
And I do not believe he was on a frolic of his own. I know him, although we have been on other sides of the divide.
Mhm.
I have known Rupert for a number of years, and I cannot imagine that anything would have changed that would have caused him to go off on a limb or on a frolic of his own.
You know, Ambassador.
So
Go ahead.
No, so I'm saying, so had I received a letter like that, I would have quickly responded and said, I have received your letter, even if I say I do not agree with the points you have raised, but I will get back to you with a more fulsome answer.
And based on all of that you just said, Ambassador, you don't have to answer the question I'm going to ask you though. Do you believe that the Jamaican government, along with the Jamaican ambassador, have by not answering Mr. Francis, has really disrespected the Jamaican diaspora?
Well, if I put myself in the eyes of the diaspora, I would have to say yes.
Yes.
And if somebody on behalf of the diaspora had written me a letter in that way and I did not respond, I would have been completely out of order. You know, I remember when I was named as the High Commissioner to the UK,
Yes.
Mr. Pattison, who was by then former Prime Minister, I had a discussion with him because, you know, in the course of preparing to go, you have discussions with many people.
Yes.
You have discussions with the Prime Minister, you have discussions with the leader of the opposition, you have discussions with ministers in different areas and, you know, different people. And I met with Mr. Pattison and he said to me, you know, we are trying to build a diaspora community. We're trying to build a cohesive diaspora community. And you will find when you go to the UK that you are going to be treated as if you are the member of parliament for the diaspora.
Yes.
And certainly, I think I was treated in that way. And I know that because I used to be a member of parliament. So I know that when people have their problems, they come to the High Commission. Because your position is not just to be the representative to our partners and our international partners and so on, but also to be there for the diaspora.
Yeah.
And remember, we have been working on setting up a cohesive diaspora since 2003, 2004, I think.
Yes.
I remember going to the first diaspora conference, which was held at the Seabed Authority. And out of that, I went and I spoke. At the time, I was Minister of Tourism, Entertainment and Culture. And because of that, various diaspora groups in the United States invited me to come and speak to them on various occasions.
Yeah.
So I know that the diaspora expects that their Jamaican representative would be very amenable to responding to their questions of concern and otherwise.
You're just joining us. We're speaking to Ambassador Aloun Samba. Aloun Samba is a Jamaican lawyer, politician, and diplomat. She's a former member of parliament for St. Anne's Southeast and served.
Southeast.
Pardon me?
No, Southeast. I was just saying it for you.
Yes, Southeast. And served as Jamaica's Minister of Tourism, Entertainment, and Culture. She's also a former High Commissioner for Jamaica to London. Her Excellency, the Most Honorable Aloun Samba, one of Jamaica's. You know something. Before I let Luke come in, let us say this. Ambassador Aloun Samba is one of Jamaica's well-loved ambassador around the globe. Well-loved around the globe. And I see somebody in the chat room, ambassador from London, is saying hello to you, season's greetings, and say that you're a very good ambassador. Luke George Cooke.
Thank you.
Look, you see,
I'm not seeing the chat, so I'm not seeing.
Yeah. You need.
Well, let me just tell you, my real name is Aloun Samba. My surname is a double-barreled name, and in speech I just use Aloun Samba, but my full name is Aloun Samba.
Okay.
Jeffrey.
Just to say that.
Yes.
Jeffrey,
Are you here, Luke Ambassador?
No.
Luke, go ahead.
Jeffrey. All right. So you see what ambassador said. You listen to the land. You listen to
have to repeat the question for me.
Okay. Hold on for me. Hold on a minute. Luke, continue.
Yeah. So you listen to the response of the ambassador. As the ambassador, I might not be able to just make a response to any letter that comes in from members of the Jamaican community, but at least a holding response to the concern. And people keep on saying letter. I would say that Rupert released a press release, and in it he itemized the areas of concern that have been contentious over the period of time that I would imagine that there has been engagement between the Jamaican government and the diaspora community. He has not said anything in that press release that persons have not said in our own private space. But the truth of the matter, the veracity and the venom that is being spewed by the government of making Rupert a troublemaker. Rupert is very much a citizen of this country. He might be in another space where he became a citizen through a process, but he has been a citizen of this country that has contributed. The ambassador speaks to the fact that a constituent of mine has now expressed something that might not resonate very well in my spirit, but I cannot tell the Jamaican people how to express themselves. What Rupert did was to make sure to speak to the unmet need of how the government of Jamaica treat with its partners. And then on top of that, you're saying, oh, the minister of national security now said, let them send their money, but we don't need their expertise. I recall hearing the minister on a newscast saying, we have some very bright people here. So if people want to help, let them help in terms of providing the resources. And that resources never sound like it was the human resource. It was just the financing of programs that we developed external of those people who can contribute. So Ambassador basically has given the framework. And when I hear people say, oh, Rupert went about it the wrong way, Jeffrey, any Jamaican have the right to
any Jamaican could have done that, yes.
Right.
Any Jamaican. I want you to speak upon one thing you said about citizen of the country. The fact is that our constitution allows us to have dual citizenship.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
We must always remember that. And the truth is, any citizen of Jamaica, whether they reside in Jamaica or they reside outside of Jamaica and would be part of the Jamaican diaspora, would have a right to express themselves and to send such a letter. But the letter said that he was acting on behalf of that group. Now,
And
that would make it, to me, and I'm not questioning whether he was or was not in fact operating on behalf of a group. I think that he must have been, because Rupert is somebody.
Sorry to cut you. But Dr. Francis is chairman of the Crime Prevention
I know,
Task Force.
exactly. I know. So what I'm saying, he was not off on a frolic of his own, and he was not out on a limb by himself. He was representing a group that he is the chairman, a group that the government of Jamaica has been well aware of all this time that they have been operating, because I am well aware of it. They have had seminars and people have participated in those seminars. So the other thing that I want to say, I saw, I think it was today, I saw a news report where Minister Terry Long wrote, no, I think it was a letter to the editor, an article in one of the newspapers about the role of the diaspora. I skimmed through it. I didn't read it fully, because in my own mind, I know what it is that we had been trying to achieve when we began to set up our diaspora organizations all over the places where the diaspora live.
Yes.
And you are right, Luke. It is not just about sending money. It is about making their expertise available to us, to Jamaica. And if we have people with the kind of expertise that can help us, we as a country ought not to be closing ranks and locking out people who could assist.
and look,
Questions are asked, then suggestions would be the next thing. Yes, you've asked this question, what are the suggestions you have? However, it seems to me that the task force had been making suggestions that might not have been taken up. No, it is not.
It has been ignored, Ambassador. It has been ignored over the years.
Yes. What I'm going to say is that it is not every suggestion that is going to be taken up, but surely there is a dialogue to say, we hear you, we see what you're suggesting, however, this is not what we think can work. So at least there is a response. The point I'm making is the dialogue, the response that is needed. Because we as a country have sought to develop a diaspora organization. What is it that they're supposed to do? Just meet and have tea? Or are they to be meeting to look at where they can make interventions to make life in Jamaica easier?
Yes.
In my time as High Commissioner, that is how we approached the work with the diaspora organization. That is how it was approached.
Ambassador, we have Wilfred Rattigan just joining us. I'm going to ask this question, Ambassador. Is the Jamaican Diaspora Council a legal entity in the United States or in London?
I am afraid I can't answer that. I don't know about I don't know about the law in the United States. I do know, however, that there are certain rules about organizations and about information that can be dispatched on behalf of an organization that seems to be carrying out a political purpose. I'm trying to be careful here because I cannot say that I know the U.S. law.
Okay. We have Wilfred Rattigan. Are you hearing us? I'm not hearing you though. Unmute your mic.
You can hear me?
Yes. We have with us Ambassador Aloun Samba here. You want to ask her any question pertaining to the fire and all those things?
No, I just heard the ambassador. Good evening, and good evening to Mr. Jeffrey.
I'm not hearing Rattigan so well.
You're not hearing me? Hello? Mike.
Yes.
Yes, she's hearing it now.
Ambo, can you hear me?
I'm hearing you if you're asking me.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that I just joined the discussion and I just heard when the last question he asked you, whether or not it's a legal entity, and you were saying that you're not familiar with the laws of the United States, and so it's a difficult question to answer. Well, I'll have you know. Again, good evening, Mr. Jeffrey Tavares. I see Luke George on the thing here. Bless up yourself, Luke, and good evening to viewing and listening audience. No, I do not believe.
Mr. Rattigan, I think we're not going to ask Ambassador about the FARA or the Magnitsky Act because she wasn't aware that I was going to ask her that question. So we'll ask her about that question, okay?
Oh no!
No, he's going to explain that.
He's going to explain.
Okay.
I think he's going to explain that.
Yeah. I sent a request to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade this morning, asking them whether or not this organization, I should say organizations, plural, the two of them, Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council, whether or not they're legal entities, if they're registered, where are they registered, who registered them, when were they registered? If they're not an organization, are they a movement? Because somebody told me that they're a quote unquote movement, which I found to be surprising, considering that they have a Bible, so to speak, called the Terms of Reference that lists governance structure, voting, roles and responsibility, disciplinary action, the whole thing. So and then I also asked them, how is it that this group or these groups, how is it that they're representing the diaspora when 3 out of the 4 people leading the group, they're government officials? We only have 1 diaspora member in that group of 4. And the organization itself is chaired by the junior minister in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. And he has the right to remove people. He has the right to appoint people. And so I asked them, are the appointments, let me ask you a question, Ambassador. Maybe you can answer it, maybe you cannot. When the Jamaican government appoints someone overseas, what's the procedure? What's required? What does it look like when someone is appointed?
As far as I know, the government appoints the staff of the various embassies or the High Commission. So they are employees of the government through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I don't know that the government has the facility to appoint anybody else. Now, let me just say this, speaking from my own knowledge, the Jamaica Tourist Board has an office and representatives in the UK, and they are appointed by the Jamaica Tourist Board. JAMPRO has an office and staff in the UK. They are appointed by JAMPRO, not by the government. So I'm not sure the conditions under which somebody other than employed to a government entity which operates in a particular country would be appointed by the government, and the government does not appoint the staff members of the Jamaica Tourist Board nor the staff members of JAMPRO. So I couldn't give you an answer other than that in my own personal information. Now, I don't know the basis upon which these two, because these are 2 new organizations that have been set up. Previously, at least I can speak for the UK, the members of the various groups who operate various Jamaican organizations in the UK, they are the ones who vote who would represent them at the Diaspora Council, as it was then. the government did not appoint anybody to those councils. It was the community who appointed their representative on the diaspora organization. So I think there's a little difference now than what I was used to.
Well, the reason why I ask about the appointment is because these people have received letters of appointment, and when I started looking into it, and I found out that just last year the Prime Minister appointed 4 ambassadors slash envoy for business purposes and business and investment purposes. And then I found out that the honorary consuls, they are appointed. And of course, the diplomatic corps people you just mentioned, the staff of the high commissions and the embassies, they're appointed as well. And then when you, and these people are appointed, but these people, they don't have diplomatic privilege, they don't have diplomatic immunity. And then also when you look at their responsibilities, for example, investment, they have the same responsibility as the honorary consuls, the diplomatic corps, and the ambassadors for investment. So I'm trying to think, why are they involved in this? And they have if you look at the list of their responsibilities, it's a long list, a very long list. And then, you know, they're required to do things with the embassy and the high commissions, and that's open to a wide interpretation, because I don't even know if they should be involved with fundraising, but I'm being told that some of them have done fundraising, and that's a problem.
Fundraising for whom?
Fundraising for the government.
For the government of Jamaica or for the party in power?
Well, that might be a distinction without a difference, because the party in power, they select the government. So,
no, there is a completely different role from being government and being the party that forms the government.
No, the reason why I mentioned that
to find out.
No, the reason why I say it's a distinction without a difference, because I think that in the US, you're not supposed to raise money for a government, much less a political party. So that's why I'm saying it doesn't really matter. There are rules here about what you can do and what you can't do in terms of fundraising for a government, much less a political party. So,
but Rattigan,
so let me ask a question, Rattigan. When the fundraising for the government takes place, does that money go into the central pool? Does it go to the accountant general?
That's a good question. And
who does it go to?
That's a very good question
I want to ask.
All right, let me give you an example. Let me give an example, and maybe this might, you know, they said sometimes when you see things on paper, that's not how they work in reality, right? Well, I can
problems with COVID. I know that there were various organizations, governments and otherwise, that contributed to Jamaica's ability to respond to the COVID pandemic. But that money would have gone into the government coffers, and there's a way to get money there. That money would go into, and please forgive me, but my COVID brain fog is on me here. But it's to go into the consolidated fund. That's the word I'm looking for. Consolidated fund. Mm-hmm. Any money that comes to Jamaica for the government of Jamaica is to go into the consolidated fund. And it could possibly go in through a ministry of government, but certainly not through understanding of it.
Well, they wrote...
And Rattigan, you could use the Shaggy experience to see how the Ministry of Health went about trying to say to Shaggy, who had as part of the terms of agreement that he was not going to hand over the money to the Ministry of Health, but it would be held in his foundation. But each items that were needed for the Bustamante Children's Hospital, they were to
hospital.
directed to the hospital. It had to be invoiced and sent to the foundation, and the foundation. But it goes back to the term of reference, because it's not a constitution that you spoke to. You talked about a term of reference, and this is what is puzzling, how you see people now. Like recently I saw Peter Gracie for the South using the title Honorary Peter Gracie, and I was saying, Honorary Peter Gracie, why are they giving out titles to persons who are supposed to be serving their country? Why are we titling them? But obviously under the new terms of reference that you speak to, I'd love to see what those terms of reference, because it's not a constituted body that has a constitution that tells you how it would function. And I've said this to Mr. Tavares in private conversation. I do not see why the diaspora had to engage the government of Jamaica as an entity. I thought that there would have been an independent body of Jamaicans who are living in other spaces who could have formed a constitution, registered as an organization in their respectful countries, and then carry out their functions here in Jamaica under the Company Act. They could also have what is called a registered business name, so they could have set up accounts in Jamaica if they're not going to do the full registration process. But you're speaking to a new evolving terms of reference that people are basically signing up to this thing without questioning the legality of it. And it's interesting that you're bringing up that point, but everybody know that any money who comes into the country should go to central government. Then it's probably paid over to the consolidated funds, and it's earmarked specifically for this. But Ambassador, it was the same way how they got 700 tablets from the consulate in Florida. And there is no audit of where those tablets end up. They just came in by night, and we heard that they were given out. There is really no audit, because we have been asking for accountability, but none is coming. And this is where I think that Rupert Francis and Wilfred Rattigan with Jeffrey Tavares and other people are now asking for a separation of powers, because there is really no accountability. Nobody should be asking you about the money that they gave to you that was raised to help with the COVID recovery that you can't give, and you still hold a ministerial post. You should be able to account for every dollar that comes into this country. And if you can't, then it basically means that you have failed in carrying out your duty in an effective and an accountable manner. And instead of asking any further, is really to write now to the Prime Minister, as I say, you have 30 days in which to account, or the money should be sent back because we didn't get value for the money, and somebody must be held accountable.
Ambassador?
The question that I would ask, and I'm putting on my lawyer hat now, eh?
Yes, go ahead.
The question I would ask is, are you able to trace the money? Meaning, who sent it? Who was it sent to?
Wilfred Rattigan?
Who received it? You understand the question I'm asking? Which is, you can't just say the money was sent. For example, the tablets were sent. They would have been sent by somebody, and they would have been consigned to somebody with an indication that this is the purpose for which these tablets are being sent. Would you please distribute them in the following manner? Do we have those kinds of records?
Well,
yes.
Well,
The problem, Ambassador, because I think Wilfred alluded to the fact that the people have been asking the person, where is the money? The challenge is, should we be asking the person if it came in, even if it was given to this minister, which you said, it could have been distributed, it could be given to a ministry, but it would have naturally gone to the consolidatory fund. The consolidatory funds must now tell you what and who benefited from it. But the challenge is, Ambassador, there is seemingly no accountability, because you should even wait on the donors to be asking you for the accountability. You should have been sending them to say, okay, was it earmarked specifically for ventilation system, having enough equipment in the hospital? So it's good that you put on that hat, and maybe that you could lead the, well, maybe I should say you should lead the next investigation as to what happened from a lawyer's perspective, what happened in the case of this money that was donated along with tablets. And overall, we're still waiting on a report on all the funds that Jamaica received in COVID, and how it was utilized, because I remember recently the Jamaicans went to Parliament to ask how the funds were used and how it was disbursed. So it's a lot of asking of question, Ambassador, but you're not even get a stand. You're not even get a response, because...
Let us ask, sorry, Luke, to cut you. Let us ask Wilfred Rattigan. Is there a way to trace that 400,000, Mr. Rattigan? That's what Ambassador was asking.
Well, yeah, there is a way to trace it, because it was sent, I think it was sent by the Northeast chapter of the Global Diaspora, Global Jamaica Diaspora Council. So there is a way to check that. But to further expand on the question that the ambassador asked and the response provided by Luke George, I found out that donor funds generally, they go when they come to Jamaica, there's a central clearinghouse for all of this, and that central clearinghouse is the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, and they're responsible.
Yeah, the PIOJ.
Yeah, they're responsible for establishing programs, and they're responsible for oversight and all of these things. Most of the money coming in as donations from established organizations and from countries, they go through PIOJ. Now, I asked PIOJ to give me their records of donations received from 2016 to present. They responded that they have no such records. Although I found out that
did you ask under the Access to Information Act?
Yes.
Okay.
And so they responded and they said they don't have any records. And then I said, well, wait a minute. How come then you do an annual report? And where you get these numbers and all these figures from? So I was instructed that there's a technical term, I can't remember it, that they said, ask them again and use this term. So I did. And that term, it includes 3 forms of aid to Jamaica: technical assistance, loans, and donations. So I asked. And grants, right? Donations. So the second time they said, okay, we're getting a response for you. They, as you know, under the Access to Information, they have 30 days, and they also have the option of an extra 30 days if they to put everything together.
Yes, of an extension. Yes.
Right. So it's 60 days. So I'm still waiting. I think we went past the first 30-day period, so I'm waiting for the second 30-day period.
I think that's a good way to go. What I would suggest is that there's a lot of information floating around, and we are actually in the era of misinformation, in a way that when I was growing up and getting into this politics, it used to be called propaganda.
Yes.
Now it's called misinformation. And so it's very easy for somebody to get up and say, this ball is green. But you look at the ball and you realize this ball might have some swatches of green, but it is not a green ball. Why I'm saying that is to say, there are ways of asking questions, like, for example, under the Access to Information Act. There are ways of asking the donor. In this case, we're talking about the diaspora donor, to say, you had this fundraiser. How much? Because on behalf of the diaspora, I think you ought to be able to ask these questions. How much did you collect? What did you do with it? Because people who donate want to know what happened to their dollars. all the organizations that I have worked with who are outside of Jamaica and who collect money from others have to give a report to their donors as to how much they collected and what they have used it for. And if I should even go back to the comment that was made about Shaggy and Friends, I worked with the foundation in the UK. And for the minute here now, the name is slipping me, but it's called Heart, something Heart. And they do surgeries for children who have heart disease in Jamaica. And they collect money. For example, they have a big dinner every year. And they have to account to their donors how much money they collected and what are they doing with it. They're not just working in Jamaica, they're working in other countries, eh? And they have to build that. There's a building on the Children's Hospital that they have to build. And when I was High Commissioner, and they thought the building was not going up as fast as it ought to have been going up, given the money they were sending there, I was asked on one of my trips to Jamaica to go and tour the facility so that I could report back what was happening. You understand me? So the people who give money to charities and other organizations who contribute to Jamaica, they have a right to know how their money was being spent. And they have a right to ask what has happened to the money.
But you know something, Ambassador, and I think Wilfred Rattigan can correct me or said I'm correct.
Chain of Hope is the organization that I was trying to remember. Okay. The Chain of Hope, which is based in the UK.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry to cut in on you.
That's okay. Mr. Rattigan, between donor funds and loans and so forth, and gifts, it came up to over 1.something billion US dollars, Mr. Rattigan?
I think between 2016 and I think it's like 2019, Jamaica received somewhere there in approximately I think it was over 2 billion with a B, US dollars.
Repeat, Ambassador didn't hear it. Repeat again. You shouldn't hear it.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, between I think between 2016 and 2019, I have to go back and check. Don't quote me on this, but my recollection is that Jamaica received approximately 2.2 something like that billion US dollars in aid. And
I know that questions have been asked in Parliament about how much money we received and what has it been used for, and I do not think that those questions have been answered.
Well, Ambassador, I'll have you know that we have a very active diaspora, and I'm not referring to the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council. I'm not referring.
You're not talking about the organization. You're just talking about the group of people who live abroad.
Right. We are very, very. Yeah. We have a group of people very active. We're very, very interested in seeing change as far as how service deliveries.
Governance.
Right.
Governance.
How
yes.
how service delivery rendered to particularly the vulnerable communities, because most of the money coming into Jamaica, it's not coming in for government and the elite. It's coming in to set up programs to alleviate poverty, and yet we see the poverty rate in Jamaica going up, not down, despite the boast that the unemployment rate is 4.5, the lowest it's ever been in the history of Jamaica. We still see.
I think they count windshield wipers and those kind of people.
Well, look.
Windshield wipers.
Well, the thing is, I will even give them that and say, okay, fine. It's the lowest it's ever been, but the poverty rate is going up. And if you ask people how do they feel about the economy, they're going to give you a negative response. All you have to do is just simply ask, are you better off now economically than you were in 2015, 2016? And I dare say that most Jamaicans will tell you they're not better off.
The Prime Minister went into Montego Bay today, and I saw a little clip just before I came on where he was walking in a particular area, and there were people who were shouting out at him and saying, "Look at the price of this! Look at the price of this! We can't buy this! We can't buy that!" And that would be a response to you, Mr. Rattigan, because that is the experience that, I mean, if I even take myself, and by no means could I be considered in the law of the lowest economic category in Jamaica, but I find myself having to be very careful about how I spend so that I will be able to cover my bills. For example, people have been complaining. We know why this is so. Among other things, the exchange rate has gone up, so the electricity bill has gone up. When the electricity bill goes up, you know what happens. It concerns everything. When we have a situation where gas will go down by 25 cents one week and will go up by $2.50 the following week. So when you sorry?
Every single Thursday, pressure jam.
Every Thursday.
And go back up the next
There are people, I mean, to the point where even on TV News, J News the other night, I heard them saying, well, the gas is going to go up tomorrow by whatever, that means you should go and fill your tank tonight. This is on the Wednesday evening news. People are having to live like that, to make a determination as to when you go and fill your tank. But when gas goes up, everything, because that relates to transportation. So I'm saying all of that, Rattigan, to support you.
Yes, no, I understand.
What you are saying.
I understand. I'm looking in the chat here, and I see E. Marie and Egla Fletcher, and I think they're onto something. I mean, it sounds funny, but it might very well be true. They're saying if the money was given to a minister directly, maybe the minister thought that it was their money. I like that.
My response to that is, but why would a diaspora organization raise funds for a minister personally? And I'm asking that question, remember I was a minister.
Mm-hmm.
Former minister.
Well, maybe it wasn't great for the minister personally, but the minister took it personally. So, they're not above and beyond reproach, as you well know. So,
Rattigan, answer Claudia Palmer's question. What are the age of windscreen wiper? And when did we bring them into the job industry as an entity?
Oh, please. I want to say that comment was made tongue-in-cheek by me. Okay. Tongue-in-cheek. Because I can't understand how it could be said that the employment rate is so low. It must be, and this is very tongue-in-cheek, It's very tongue-in-cheek. It must be that we're counting the windshield wipers.
There is a piece put out by there's a piece put out by a professor. Oh man, his name escapes me now. But he went into detail as to the methodology used to determine the unemployment rate, and it's just hilarious when you look at it. But it's true. But I'll give that to them. I'll say, okay, fine, it's the lowest it's ever been. But then when you ask people, a lot of people
correlation. How would that correlate with standard of living, which we were just talking about?
Right. I was just gonna say that a lot of people in Jamaica, they're earning minimum wage, and when you factor in inflation, they just cannot make ends meet because prices of commodities, goods and commodities, they're going up, and the minimum wage is right where it is. So, oh yeah, there you go, Daisy. Thanks, Maria. No, me can't count on you. Kenny Thompson up at UA. You should go read. Yeah, I hope to have him back on maybe this week or next week. But he's excellent when it comes to assessing, digesting, taking it apart, and showing you how it's a fallacy that the unemployment rate is 4.5. Because, in fact, he gave an example where if you worked, if you work like the last day of a period and you were just cutting bushes for the last of the period, they consider that full employment, even though the job is just for one day. but you work during that period, so it's considered full employment. It's crazy, but
So I suppose with the butchering that took place over Christmas,
everybody's
when the figures come
working.
out again, the unemployment rate is going to be negligible then.
Yes, indeed,
I'm
because
sorry.
everybody's
Again,
working.
that is tongue in cheek.
Yes.
Ambassador, I know you don't have a long time here with us. So
Yes, that is after 8.
yes, I know. Let us segue into the discussion of what is the views on the new shadow cabinet of the People's National Party presented to the Jamaican people by opposition leader Mark Golden.
You want my views or you want the views generally?
The views.
There are 3 views, you know. There's my view, there's the view of some people, and there's the view of other people.
Well, all three.
What is my view? My view is that this is a good thing. My view is that the leader of a political party has the power to determine who is cabinet or who her cabinet or shadow cabinet will be. And they can choose to make that change anytime. I hear people talking about, why are you changing your shadow cabinet before an election? You can change it anytime. The shadow cabinet are the people who will speak on different issues, and different issues come up. I also hear people asking, why is it that 2 members of parliament, I'm so sorry, I'm outside and my dogs are fighting. Oh boy, this is what happens in living country. And it goes to the issue of security.
Yes.
You have to have dog.
True.
If all they do is if all the dogs do is make noise and bark, it means you can get up and look and see what's going on. But let me go back to the shadow cabinet. There's been a lot of statements and comments about why 2 sitting members of parliament are not named in the shadow cabinet. They have indicated that they are not going to run in another election. It gives an opportunity.
That is Lisa Hanna and Maurice Guy.
Maurice Guy, yes. So they have indicated, nobody has pushed them out. I want to make that very clear. They have indicated that they're not going to run in another election. In fact, the constituencies have chosen persons who, and the party has agreed, persons who are going to run in their stead in the next election. So you're going to change your spokespersons. Why not use the opportunity to bring in persons who hopefully will be around for the next time? The other thing is, I think that this cabinet is, the shadow cabinet is a good mix of persons with experience and new young persons. The spokesperson council, they have hit the ground running. They were named on Saturday.
Yes.
And today, they almost took over the airways in the afternoon today. They were at...
It's 25, it's a big shadow cabinet, Ambassador. 25.
It does not mean that they are going to, let me make this very clear. It does not mean that they are going to form the cabinet if and when, not if and when, let me change that. It does not mean that they're going to form the cabinet when the PMP becomes the government.
In other words, Ambassador, when the Prime Minister put on his class and call the election.
Yeah, it is solely in the Prime Minister's remit to call an election. And therefore the PMP has to be very prepared for such a thing. And naming a shadow cabinet, it doesn't matter if it's 25 or 30.
Yes.
These are people who can speak to the issues that are of importance to Jamaica at this time. It does not mean that they are all going to be in the cabinet when the time comes. It does not mean that. It simply means that at this particular time, these are the issues that the leader of the opposition sees as important to the country to hear what the PNP is saying. Now listen to this. There are a lot of people who are saying, what are the policies that the PNP is putting forward? They clearly have not been listening. Because let me tell you, that information is there. The party leaders spoke at length at the conference in September about the policies going forward. Every time a spokesperson speaks, they speak about policies going forward. And that is the role of the spokesperson's council. It doesn't mean that they're all going to be ministers. It just means that at this particular time, they are going to be speaking on behalf of the PNP, bringing to the nation those areas of concern that concern all of us. For example, if I use one thing, Ravel Hines, who is going to be spokesperson on sports and whatever else. I think community development or some, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it. I sent you the list.
I'm trying to get the zoom up
On Friday,
because it is far away in a sense. Let's see if we can zoom it in. Okay.
I sent it to you.
Yes.
No.
You said Wavel Hines?
Yes.
Wavel.
Sports. I'm not sure what is it's been twinned with.
Labor and sports.
Labor. Okay. We heard just before the weekend that Cedella Marley had indicated that she was stepping away from the support of the reggae girls.
Right.
The first thing that Wavel did this morning was to appeal to her, please don't make that decision. Let us talk. It's an intervention.
But
on behalf.
Ambassador, I'm glad you touched on that point. But the JCF have some shebang going on in there, and Ambassador.
I'm not getting into that, sir. You know what the government worker says? It is bigger than my pay scale. There is a pending election, and there is a slate for one side, and there is a slate for the other group. Yeah. Let me not say side. Let me say group. There's a slate for one group, and there's a slate for another group. The people who have the power to vote will vote in the election, come what may. I have a feeling, I haven't spoken to Wavel, but reading between the lines, I think he's saying to Cedella, hold off. Don't make that decision. Just hold off. For example, today we had Dr. Dawes, who is the new spokesperson on health. He was on, this is Dr. Alfred Dawes.
Yes.
He was on Nationwide News Network, as was Nikisha Burrell, who is the spokesman on information. So I think it is fair to say that they have hit the ground running. Debbie Hickling, who is the spokesperson on the creative sector.
Yes, and culture industry, yes.
Culture, right, culture and creative sector. She was also on radio today talking about policy. Dr. Deborah Hickling Gordon has been speaking on this. She is considered by the rest of the world because she's been invited to make these presentations to other countries who are seeking to develop their creative industries to allow us to monetize the creative industries. To monetize it, not just as individual, because individuals are already monetizing it, but as a country for us to monetize that thing which thousands of tourists, probably Mr. Bartlett would say millions, yes, come to Jamaica every year to participate in.
I see, Ambassador, I see where they have a young, vibrant young lady, Gabriela Morris, as youth civil engineer.
Yeah. Civil engagement.
Engagement, rather. Sorry, civil engagement. Yes. Sorry.
Gabriela is a senator. She was appointed a senator by Dr. Peter Phillips when he was the head of the opposition, and she remained a senator when Mark Golding became the leader of the opposition. A very vibrant young lady, yes, working with youth. And when you work with youth, part of what you need to do is the community engagement, the role of the young people in developing their communities. Yes. So there's been there is a very good mix of some of the older heads, but also some newer heads. I notice people are saying, what does Dr. Angela Brown Burke know about about foreign affairs. Really? What did anybody know about foreign affairs before they got appointed?
There you go.
What? No. Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, I think that there are people who want to put her in a box, saying that because she was a counselor and she was the mayor of Kingston and St. Andrew, that she can't hold any other position. This lady is a lady with her doctorate. Did Kamina Johnson-Smith know anything about foreign affairs before she was put there as foreign affairs minister?
We can ask Wilfred Rattigan that one. You want to answer that one, Wilfred Rattigan?
She learned at the.
I'm only calling that name because that's the current minister. You hear, Wilfred?
Yeah, I know. She learned she was at her father's feet. She
No.
learned from her father.
No. Her father and I were in the Senate together.
That's tongue in cheek. That's tongue in cheek. That's tongue in cheek.
Okay. I accept it since I do the same thing.
All right.
Mr. Rattigan and Luke George Cooke, you want to ask Ambassador any questions pertaining to the new shadow cabinet or anything else before she go? Because I know I overstepped my little boundary by asking her to come on a little, and I know it's time for her to go. Any question, Luke George Cooke? Wilfred Rattigan?
Yeah, look, George, look there.
I have set them numb.
No,
I made them dumb.
Jeffrey, she has named the shadow cabinet. She feels the vibe that this shadow cabinet will go out there and they will bring the message of the PMP and that it will resonate with the people. I'm very happy to see that they have finally picked Dr. Horton, I think Andre Horton,
yes,
from Montego Bay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that guy is a guy that all Jamaicans should watch. I know we like the charisma, but Andre is a solid guy. Certainly, I would love to see what he brings to the ministry. I'm not about the pop culture, so I'm not going to get excited. Some of the names that are there, I'd love to see what Wavell Hines will bring to Labour and sports. I don't know if when they say Labour, they're taking off social security. I was trying to look through to see who it is that they will have at social security, because Labour is usually twinned with social security, but I just say Labour and sports. So maybe somebody else is.
I think it comes somewhere else about citizens protection or something, not limited to security. It's covered in another area. Don't quote me on it though. But don't quote me on which area it's covered in, but it's covered in another area. Because social security is a very important thing, especially now where we're getting to the point where our population is increasing in age. And we have to be considering the NIS, the protection of the National Insurance Fund. We have to be considering the needs of retired persons, whether or not the pension that they're getting from the NIS is sufficient. There's a lot of work now being done to say to the government through the National Insurance Fund that you need to have a reckoning about the amount that is paid for NIS. So that is an area that Social Security is an area that is important and has not been left off. Unfortunately, I, for this moment, cannot recall which of the portfolios it would be included in. I also hear...
No, I think I see.
I said that people are saying that we should have mirrored the current government ministries. I don't think that is important. I think we have indicated the areas that we want to focus on by who we have put and the areas that we've identified for the shadow cabinet, and it does not have to mirror the current ministries at all.
I would love to know what the citizen security and productivity is all about. I also want to know what this area of social transformation and social protection, what they are going to be.
That look, that is where the social security would come in.
Well, I'm very happy to see that Floyd Morrison is in housing and sustainable living. That's a good advocate. I would have thought that they would have put him in this.
No, but you can't.
Denise daily. It would be interesting to hear what Dr. Well, I didn't hear what you said about Dr. Alfred, but finally, Damien has a seat at the table, so he doesn't have to eat from Davy's table because I still want to put him at education and community. But he's
had education for a while. Damien has had education since the last change in spokesperson. Remember, Dr. Angela Brownberg had it before Damien, and then Damien got it, so he has had education for a while.
Okay. Well, I've been following the shadow cabinet, but you know, I look forward to seeing what Senator Donna Scott Motley is going to do at Justice. The people cry justice in Jamaica. So it would be good to see what she's going to do there. Whether or not
she was one of them who was on radio today.
Okay, whether or not, I'm hoping that this group of people will be more accountable to the Jamaican people, both locally and abroad, and that they will not take their they will take their overcoming with greater humility than the ones that we have now, because let me tell you something. These are no longer servants of the people, they have become our gods.
Yes. Well, I know for sure that that is a concern which has been expressed to them, that we must always remember that we serve the people, that is our role, to serve the people, not
Senator, you are not one of those that seem to have left politics.
I'm nothing.
Former Senate, no man, you can't say that. Former Senator and Ambassador, you have served this country credibly. I don't know if them give it the order of the nation yet, but maybe when the PMP come to power. But the point is that, Senator, there is this sort of emerging culture in politics that we're going to forget rich and we forget the people. What is it that the PMP is going to come with in this new dispensation if they were to become the government of Jamaica that says you must have a greater accountability to the people that you serve, and therefore you must not act as our Lord and Masters, because this is not a matter of we send you there to enrich yourself, but we send you there to work on behalf of Jamaicans both home and abroad. What is it that you're going to tell these young, vibrant young people who are coming into this position, that put the people first and make the country better and everybody will be better off? What is the message to those young people that we are going to see a difference if tomorrow morning the PMP becomes the new administration?
Let me tell you this. The PMP is very focused on governance, on issues relating to governance, which means we have the rules, you know. There's no question about the rules, and I can tell you this because I'm a former Minister of Government. We all know what rules are.
I would just say
no personal enrichment.
Are you going to be mentoring some of these people coming in?
We're doing that already, sir.
Okay, all right. So you're saying that if the PMP become the next government, we should expect that we can expect only the best, and that they are going to work for only the best, and that Jamaica is going to be better off under a PMP administration. It's not 5 years of promises, but it's going to be 5 years of delivering service to the Jamaican people.
In fact, that is what we have to go to the people with and say, this is what we are about, and this is what you must judge us by.
Yes.
Question.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Ratty, before you ask that question there, can you also provide some more education on funding coming into the country and probably the proper methodologies that must be applied, and if anything else is suggested, that people must flag it and know that that is not what government is supposed to be doing. So we don't have another situation of Jamaicans overseas that are working tirelessly. Some of them really not making the six figure, but because of the love that they have for their country, they will make the sacrifice so that their hard-earned dollar really go into the pockets and the community that are in need of not only social but economical transformation.
Ambassador?
May I suggest that you invite Julian Robinson
Yes, I'm going to do that.
come and speak, because he would be better able to speak on that.
Okay.
Being
All
the
right.
spokesperson.
Well, Jeffrey, please get Ambassador to speak to Mr. Robinson, and then you can share contact information.
I will do that. Mr. Rattigan?
Yes, Ambassador. Earlier,
Yes, sir.
when Luke George discussed the shadow cabinet with you, you made it abundantly clear that just because you see the names that you see now doesn't necessarily mean that they will be the ones when, if, well, you correctly you said if and when, but then you went back to say when the PNP wins. That
Yes.
it doesn't have to be that the people that you see now who are speaking out, that they are, they will be made ministers of the portfolio that they now speak on or about. Am I correct on that?
Yes. Yes.
All right. No, here's how I see it, right? I based on what you said, it sounds to me like what you're saying is that this is like a relay in the heats, where the people that you see running the heats won't necessarily be the same people running the finals. And we know that's how it works, because you save your best for last, right? You save your best for the final race. Now, should the PNP win and ask you? Oh no! Before I get to that point, you said that people were making statements about MP Angela Brown Burke's ascendancy to this position, ministry, to speak on about the
Foreign affairs.
Foreign Affairs, right? And you said, well, nobody not really knew about Ministry of Foreign Affairs, because, and then you mentioned my favorite minister. You mentioned the Honorable Kamina Johnson Smith, and you said, well, she no, and then I kind of like off an argument in her behalf about learning at the feet of her father. And you said no. So if you're saying nobody knows about the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, now if there's one person I know who knows about the Ministry of Foreign
No, I'm
Affairs,
not saying that, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that you don't have to know.
right, I understand. But what we don't want to do
Yes.
is the next government should not act like this government in terms of putting square pegs in round holes. They just and so if there's one person I know, and I'm supremely confident about this, who knows about foreign affairs, it's you. Now, you're not running in you're not running in the heats, but let's say it's the finals. And now they reach out to you. Don't fight it. Don't fight the hypothetical. Don't fight it.
It's not tongue-in-cheek, Rattigan. It's prophecy.
Yeah. They reach out to you and they say, look, we need you to run the
Let me tell you something.
Me not finish ask the question.
I know what you're asking.
No.
But can I disturb your question? And I want to say this.
No, I'm telling you, I'm
I
going to surprise you.
politics,
I'm going to surprise you with the question.
I did not. And when the Prime Minister called me, I discussed it with my father. And my father said to me, but if your Prime Minister call you and ask you to do something, how are you going to say no?
Okay.
Oh,
But here's the thing. I know, but that's why I'm saying I'm going to surprise you with the question. The question is not what if they ask you to come, would you come? No. The question assumes that they ask you to come and you say yes. And here is the second part of the question. So now you're there. How do you plan to bring back respectability and significance to that ministry.
You think that is a fair question at this time of the night when I'm trying to come off the radio program? That should be the question to start with. That can't be the question to end with. No, I'm not going to answer you tonight.
All right, no problem, no problem.
In other words, Rattigan, she's willing for a round 2.
She's willing to run in the finals. Yes.
Yeah, no. I think she answered that credible.
I'm willing to
If the country asks her to step out of retirement, or
hold on for me, Luke. Ambassador is saying something. Go ahead, Ambassador.
I'm saying I'm willing to help my government in any way that I can. And I also know that I don't have to be a minister to do that. I know that I've had my time, I've had my term, and there are others who I think would be able to do just as well.
But suppose I want you to become the next ambassador to the United States, Ambassador.
Look here now. One of my mentors would say, please don't draw my tongue.
No.
The Prime Minister. Jamaica's well-known Prime Minister. Don't draw my tongue. But Ambassador, somebody in the Senate did say that to you, sir. Ambassador.
Yes?
Yeah, somebody in the Senate, said that don't tell Lambert, don't draw in tongue.
But Ambassador, in terms of your parting word, what will you say to Jamaicans now that are experiencing this high level of apathy? As a fellow Jamaican,
I'm going to say this because it has been proven. Because in the 2020 elections, one party won because the persons who would have voted for the other party did not go out and vote. And so what I would say is our forefathers fought to get the right to vote. Do not take it as if it is something that don't mean anything. Go out and vote, because if you do not vote, you get the government that you deserve.
And Ambassador, you said earlier on that the Jamaican constitution allow for our Jamaican diaspora to have dual citizenship. Should we encourage more of the diaspora member to vote in our elections?
As long as them get themselves registered in a constituency and then come and vote, them should do that. I discovered when I was High Commissioner to London that a lot of the other countries bring in their people to vote because they are registered in their constituency and they come and vote. Now, it also is too late in the night to start a discussion about whether you live abroad if you can vote in Jamaica. I don't want to go down that road today, but I want to say that if people in the diaspora are interested in voting, everybody have a place where they live in Jamaica. Go get yourself on the voters list and vote.
Rattigan has something. The last question from Mr. Rattigan. Go ahead, Mr. Rattigan. And Ambassador,
yes,
it's time for us to wrap up.
Yes, Ambassador, I hope you'll see it fit to answer this question. You've served overseas and you've served in a significant way, and we thank you for your service. I just want to ask you this question. Do you believe that Jamaicans living overseas should have the right, the wherewithal, the standing to sue Jamaican politicians for acts they believe to be in contravention of law and or administrative regulations?
As long as my view is, as long as you're a Jamaican citizen, you have that right.
Thank you very much.
That's my view. So when you plead, you need to plead. When I say plead, your pleadings.
Mike, that was in the that's the second. That was the second. That was the second.
I went to school.
That was the second paragraph of the pleading. I am a Jamaican.
Oh, I didn't see the pleadings.
No, I'm telling you.
But
trust me.
This is a matter which is still before the court, isn't it?
Yes.
So I really can't say much more on it. You have to understand.
No.
As
That's
an
why I
officer
asked
of
you.
the court,
No,
it doesn't
that's why.
matter which they
No, that's
say.
why I asked you in a vacuum. I wasn't asking you about
That
a
it is sub judice.
No. That's why I asked you in a vacuum. I wasn't asking you about a particular case.
Yeah, but you know, so that vacuum have holes.
Yes.
Good.
Ambassador.
Good night. Good night, Jeffrey. Good night, Wilfred. Good night, Luke. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh,
I
you
really
gone
enjoyed
already?
this. I have no idea what your listeners are saying, what comments they're making, because I can't see it here.
They're having some good comments about you, and I think one of them is saying that you should, if the opposition should win the next government, and they ask to become foreign affairs minister, you should, or become ambassador, you should do it.
I hear that. I hear it.
Ambassador,
I'm not going to answer. Not going to answer. There are lots of people who are capable.
It's not
Honestly.
about capabilities, the damage that has been done, Ambassador, and who is mature enough to bring some maturity and decency back to the office of government. I think you need to look at it from that standpoint, and that people don't feel that the last dance with you is done. And certainly it would be important that you set a standard that whoever comes after you will have the integrity and the decency that the Jamaican people are looking for. It's not about age in this, it's not about the age or the fact that you feel that you have served your tenure. It's the fact that right now, Jamaican, both locally and overseas, would like to see some decency restored to government.
Yes.
And you are still one of those people
I agree with that last statement that you have made.
Yeah, and you're one of those people that Jamaicans still believe that you have demonstrated that you have decency and you come off a good table. So don't run from it. Rattigan might just take on a new role.
Can I finish with a joke? I have a joke for everything. I went out one night and a man met me for the first time, and he said to me, you see you come off a good table, but you're not on a money.
Ambassador, do you remember when Barack Obama won the election and he called on Hillary Clinton to end up, men America's standing overseas. Yes, I think that's what Jamaica need now. They need Ambassador Aloun Samba to mend Jamaica's
Leave it. Leave it, man. Just leave it. Just leave it. Just leave it. Just leave it.
Okay, Ambassador. Thank you for coming on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye. My wife is to tell you good night.
Good night. Good night. All right.
Good night, Ambassador. Ambassador Aloun Samba.
Good night. Good night, gentlemen.
All right.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Aloun Samba. We're gonna ask Wilfred Rattigan to come on in now about the plane. The signal of plane to land in St. Elizabeth.
I don't think Wilfred. Wait, Wilfred has signal plane now? Wait, he has become ambassador of many hats.
Yes.
Mr. Okay.
Your views on the plane that there's a crash land in St. Elizabeth.
My comments will be the same as the comments made about the plane that crashed. Was it last year? Rocky Point, yeah, same
Continue
thing.
talking.
Yeah, same thing. It's a joke. We claim that we have border security, and yet we have aircraft violating Jamaican airspace without being challenged. And then they crash land, contents unknown, if known, missing, passengers unknown, if known, missing, and the planes are left behind. So it was interesting that one of the senior policemen, actually the senior policeman on the scene, said that the area was known for this type of activity. And so the question I ask is, well, if you know it's known for this type of activity, what have you done? What did you do to prevent, quote unquote, those types of activities from taking place? And it's a fairly simple observation, calculation that they knew what was going on, but nobody cares. Nobody cares. So,
But Ratty, in fairness to something what you said earlier, and it's not that nobody no cares, just that nobody cares to answer. Because maybe the senior policeman attack, but him know that him don't have the jurisdiction to put in the monitoring and to ensure that you catch who is carrying out these heinous acts. So it's not that nobody cares. I remember, I know, JCF is one of the most oppressive organizations in Jamaica. The lower rank police can overstep the senior man them. But if he says that, in all fairness, and if I you even to highlight it, I wouldn't want to see the pressure that he might come under, because then you're going to hear say he never had the authority to speak and that he was speaking incorrectly. As I said to Jeffrey at the start of the program, it would be good to see the efficiency and the efficacy of the Jamaican Aviation Authority and what the police and the military will say. We should include that, look, here is what we have seen trending over a period of time. Here is the measure that we have put in place, or here's the measure that we're going to put in place. I am waiting to hear what the Commissioner of Police is going to say, because the fact that you spoke to the fact that it was a senior officer on the scene says that it's a known fact. That is how a lot of things operate in Jamaica. Hence, it goes back to Rupert's letter that over and over we have asked for what happened. For instance, I was blown away when you said you wrote to the Planning Institute and to hear the response that you were given. But I was not particularly alarmed that that is the response, because the truth is all they keep on doing is using spin doctor to just try to get you frustrated, so you don't answer. So I'm glad that you're going to ask again, and I'd love to hear what the response is, because Dr. Wayne Henry prides himself on being the paragon of virtue. But yeah, it's just a matter, you know, Ratty, that the people who have the know and probably recommend to the people up there. But if you accept the view that crime pays a lot of our Vumvava and Vumvavi to live the prestigious life that they're living, what is going to change if the people are not empowered to challenge them, to give them the answer, or to put in place the mechanism to ensure that we have people holding office that have to answer to the Jamaican people, or they will have to go as part of the term of reference in their contract. If you can't give me an answer, you can't tell me the solution, leave, because you're a ventriloquist dummy.
Well,
look, that's why we've been advocating for a fusion center in Jamaica, a real fusion center, because this would have been seen as an emerging threat, and you would have mobilized resources to deal with this issue so that, you know, it doesn't happen again. Considering that you have identified this area as a suspicious area for this type of activity. So, you know, it's and people in the chat, they're saying it's a 9-day talk, and they're right. They're right, because look at what they're right.
Exactly.
All of it's a 9-day one. You're absolutely correct, because nobody is holding them accountable. Look at what happened with the Cooke find at the Ian Fleming Airport. We were assured that arrests would be made in a timely manner, and here it is. We're still
nearly
waiting.
a year and nothing have been made.
We're still waiting to find out what's going on. The plane disappeared. The plane that crashed off Rocky Point. Passengers, everybody gone. The only thing we heard was a few weeks later, the Minister of National Security said the people aboard the aircraft left the island.
How does he know that?
Exactly. So, you know.
You know something, Mr. Rattigan? when you look, and we're going to open the phone
Maria
line.
killing, Miss
We're gonna
Maria
close
kill
out.
it.
Pardon me?
No, Maria in the chat, Maria. Maria.
Oh,
Bless up yourself, sis.
Marie, good night to you. You know something, Wilfred Rattigan? When and look, George Cooke, when you look and you see what is going on in the country, you ask yourself the question: are these people in there to help the Jamaican people, or in there to help themselves? And when you say things like this, you get a pushback. Say you're a member of the People's National Party, and the comrades are paying you to spread propaganda news. Wilfred Rattigan and Luke George Cooke?
No, well, Larkland said Mr. Chang made a statement that they will be improving border security soon. Well, Larkland, if he made that statement in response to this last plane crash, it just tells you what state we're in. Sad state, because they've been talking about border security since 2016, since they came up with Plan Secure Jamaica, which was, by the way, Plan Secure Jamaica is a national security plan. And in that plan, they made special provisions for border security, air secure, land, sea, and air, right? 2016. And here it is that now they're making, we're going to do border security. We're going to improve it. Improve what? Don't forget that they have civil aviation, right? They have military assets to protect Jamaica to protect Jamaica's airspace. And they had, I don't know if they still have him, but there was a JCF member assigned to Southcom in Florida to look at satellite coverage of the island. And with all of that, the border, the airspace is still porous. It's still being violated, and no challenge. People land, and then they report that, hey, a plane crashed over here, and then the police, what do they respond? You don't need them to respond.
But Mr. Rattigan, the question must be asked though: does Jamaica has things in place since the 9/11 attack in the United States? If a plane should enter Jamaica's airspace and heading towards the Parliament of Jamaica, Jamaica House or King's House, where the GG is, what is going to happen? Are they going to say, let us see what's going to happen? If they're calling the plane not answering, what should they do?
No, they should respond, because look, the U.S. government, remember the U.S. government, President Biden said that Jamaica is a known transshipment point for drugs. Yes. He said that, right? He didn't have to say it for people to believe it, because it's a public secret. So the question is, what did Jamaica do going back to 2016 when they came up with this Plan Secure Jamaica to secure the borders? What did they put in place? And the things they've put in place have failed. Because at the end of the day, it comes back to not technology, it comes back to human resources. And if you don't have good people, if you don't have qualified people, if you don't have talented people, dedicated people working in those spaces, then this is what you're going to have. If you have corrupt people, this is what you're going to have. So I'm not surprised. That's up, Arlene.
Answer the question for me, Mr. Rattigan.
What question?
If the question I'm asking you, if an airplane enters Jamaica's airspace and it heading towards either King's House, Jamaica House, or Garden House, or for instance saying, God forbid, the PM House, and they keep on radioing the plane and no answer, what should the Jamaican government do? We have any idea that we could do?
No, they should have that in their Plan Secure Jamaica. Given 9/11, right? They should have prepared for that eventuality. So the question shouldn't even be answered by me. It shouldn't even be asked of me. It should be asked of them. That's a good question, but that should be posed to the government and say, okay, what do you have in place in the event that an airplane is moving towards a sensitive target or a sensitive location? What do you do? Yeah, do you shoot it down? What do you do? Do you let it just go on its own and complete the mission? What do you do? That's a good question. They should answer that question, because we've had instances where planes are just crash landing all over the place, and pretty soon, who knows, you might have something like that. So they need to. Well, you know what they're going to tell you? they're going to tell you that they can't answer you because that's confidential. That's what they're going to tell you. That's a confidential piece of the plan Secure Jamaica, so they can't tell you. And what that means is that they have no plan.
So the people of Jamaica must just sit down and say, oh, it is a confidential thing if a plane enters Jamaica's airspace and entering the capital city, Kingston, or entering Montego Bay, or going towards somewhere in Negril. They're just going to wait until the plane says, okay, Mayday, Mayday, or no Mayday.
Because they don't have, or they're not using the tools that they have to prevent these things from happening. And we've seen many instances of plane crashing in Jamaica. Many instances, not just two. These two, they're the most recent ones, at least the recent ones that we know of.
Yes.
So, you know, as I said before, these people in charge of safety and security, they're not serious. They're not serious. They really, and with all due respect, they don't know what they're doing. And that is because you have a medical doctor in charge of this thing. He has no idea about how to deal with this, with the criminal element.
Let me make something clear to the person saying that I believe the U.S. Embassy should have some protection. What we fail to understand, you know, the American embassy that sits in Kingston, Jamaica, you know, it's an American soil. And if the JDF helicopter want to fly over there, they have to ask permission. Isn't that so, Mr. Rattigan?
Not sure if they have to fly directly over it, if they have to ask permission, because you could use satellite coverage too and see what's going on there. So I don't think you have to ask for permission. If they want to land there, that's different. If they fly over, I'm not sure they have to ask for permission. But I mean, they probably have their own. I mean, looking at this, they probably have their own plans too. In the event that the plane is heading their way. What they should do is, though, they should ask. This would be interesting. They should go and ask the U.S. Embassy. Do you guys have any knowledge of this particular plane coming in, and even the one before? Did you guys capture anything? Because we know that you have satellites and you're monitoring the place. So, what did you guys see this or what? They should ask.
But in 21st century Jamaica, Mr. Rattigan, the Prime Minister was the Minister of Defense, boasts that he bought 18 helicopters. Is that our 8 helicopters? How it goes again?
It could be 8, 18, 80. Still not making a difference. First of all, they don't have enough pilots. That's the first thing. So, you know.
So what? You have an idea that they bought these helicopters to transport ministers in their slippers? Luke George Cooke?
Jeffrey, as Rattigan said, and I said it earlier on, we're always told that Jamaicans have highly competent people with skill sets that we don't need anybody help. Let them stand before a camera and tell us, how did a plane crash in St. Elizabeth? And we don't know, and we're still waiting on the Rocky Point. We're still waiting on the result from the American airline plane that crashed after taking off from Nam on Monday. Where are these competent people?
Right, that is a concrete.
Right, where are these competent people, and why can't we have the answer? The problem is there has been a lot of collaboration between our Jamaican officials and officials overseas. And Rattigan have pointed to the fact that everybody else is doing fusion center. We are reluctant to do one because we're not very serious about crime fighting and coming up with effective strategy to bring it down. And again, you have made a comment that President Biden, Rattigan said it, have said, we do know that Jamaica has been a transshipment point for the move of drugs, but nobody is condemning it like how Nesta and Terry Long and Andrew has come out against Rupert Francis that have said, we have had discussions about getting these things done, having a fusion center as part of the strategy to fight crime, and Rupert is being criticized as a traitor to Jamaica who should be hanged by the current administration. It sets the double standard, and the blame has to be with the Jamaican people, and this is why these programs give people a better insight, because this is not conversation that people are having every day in the street corner. So they turn to you, Rattigan, and the other internet radio hosts for information, because somebody is saying we have never heard of a fusion center. And this is why I'm saying that the policy that needs to be written, Rattigan has the responsibility to write one on national security and having a strategic plan. And that plan must be broken down in terms of what are the technocrats going to do, what it is that community people need to do. There was a plane that fell in Greenwich Town and people lost their life and property, and you still didn't get a report as to what could have happened and what could have caused this. We only know that in that case, 2 people died in the plane crash. So there is a real challenge for a breath of fresh air that needs to come into the policy making part of it. And then, as Aloun, as the former senator and ambassador alluded to, you really need to go back to the drawing board to re-engage the Jamaican diaspora in a more meaningful way. And this is why I'm agreeing with her. Everybody who has the ability to, somebody in the chat had said earlier, not everybody playing field there. And so the constitution reform should look at people mailing in their votes once you are registered in a constituency. You have to have people who understand what is happening in their country and how government is taking advantage of them, and empower them through advocacy for change. And this is where we have to go for Jamaican to know that we're not here every night because we don't have anything to do. We're not tearing down the country. We want it better so everybody can grow. Jamaica can be the place where you can raise your family, do your business, and you feel as if you have a right as a voter when you make that X, that people are there working on your behalf. Until you start lock up politicians and sending a strong message, minister people are going to feel like we're accomplishing much. But I do believe that by reasoning, people can learn. And I think a lot of people are learning, because tomorrow morning I'm going to hear about Fusion Center. I'm going to tell them to go ask Rattigan because I never work in a one. But there is a need for a Fusion Center.
Look, George, hold on a minute. Go ahead, Ratty.
No, you know what I'm saying? Just to give you an idea that they're really not serious about border security, border control, right? A plane violating Jamaica's airspace. It's going at a fairly good clip, right? You're talking like minutes before it enters the airspace until the time that it crashes. Now, compare that to Haitians on the high seas coming over. Takes a longer time. And yet still, and we show off and say we have boats and we have assets and we have drones and we have this and we're going to stop illegal immigration. And yet still them coming. Look at the Asians that they found walking on the street the other day. They came in undetected. God knows how many more Asians came in undetected. And instead of applying international law to these refugees, right?
You send them back.
Come up and send them back, which is in violation of international law. But putting that aside, just the border control issue now. I mean, how is it that these people they just come in and you don't know? You see them walking on the street and you say you have effective border control and you have assets and you have this and you have that and you have planes and you have trains and you have airplanes and you have boat and you have helicopters and you have drones and you have this. Yeah, you have everything. You have everything, and somehow people just manage to just pass right through everything and not even enter Jamaica maritime space, but enter Jamaica land borders, cross the land border, and now they're on land. And you see them walking down the street. This is a disgrace. And it's an indictment. The fact that they would even say, "Oh, we saw them walking on the street," and people say someone walk on the street. That's an indictment of the whole system. This whole charade called border security. Please.
Yes. I want to play a video for you and George Cooke and our viewers. Maybe they've seen it elsewhere. I want to play a video, and I want you to comment. Both of you comment on it. But I want both of you, to tell me what you think about the video.
Well, Nordy, you're right. Well, no, go ahead. Sorry.
You sure? Go ahead, man.
No, I was gonna say Nordy said that them catch the Asian them and send them back. That violation of human rights.
It is.
Yes, Nordy, you're right.
More than rice and chicken back want a better day. Rice and chicken back 2 dear you, just like it's expensive. No problem, a $300 pound for chicken back. Man, thing will be a need to develop. We need things. 13,000 to a little bit. Mr. Brogan, I want thing more to tell them boss. I run my business and I want to pay them tax like the China them. That's all. That's all I want to do, boss. I run my little business and I pay them tax like the China them. Me live on now, then a Dr. Chang run up there and nothing up there. The China man is to independent. They've been here for years. Only when election time he come around. Here. No. See Mr. Chang there. Mr. Chang, me live in paradise and know me. The place need police station at Uga. No.
The question that I want to ask tonight, that's the Prime Minister of Jamaica in Montego Bay. And Jamaican citizens are saying to the Prime Minister that chicken back, they can't afford chicken back. And they can't afford certain things, they can't keep the door and windows open. Wilfred Rattigan, your views and all that, what is it on the video? That?
This is no different than when his wife went to Miramar and got booed, and she pretended like they were cheering. You see him standing there. He heard all this complaint.
He heard everything.
And he's pretending like he's talking and gesticulating, he's doing business and all that. But he heard, and those comments, they registered in his psyche. Tonight he's home, and not only that, thank God for social media. People are calling him, talking to him about this. And so he has to sit there going, man, I failed my people.
No, hold on here, Ratty. I hope they don't say is paying people to that. And I hope they don't say it's Wilfred Rattigan or Herb Nelson or Jeffrey Tavares.
We get blamed for everything in Jamaica and overseas.
Yeah.
But you heard one man say, one person, him say, him only come round now when election time.
All right.
So
George Cooke?
No, but hold on a sec. You say no, Maria said Andrew's not phased them, bro. Well, I tell you what, if he only had to deal with this, he wouldn't be phased. But the amount of things that he's facing right now, I am sure he's no, he was getting it from overseas. Now he's getting it in Jamaica. People are now coming out now. And I'm so happy that people are inspired by what we're doing, that they can speak for themselves. Because I'm telling the Jamaican people, continue to speak out against the injustice being meted on you. Continue to speak out, because we are going to speak out as well. And we're going to speak with a loud and clear voice. And one of the things we would like to see happen is we would like to see his visa revoked for violation of the Magnitsky Act. We would love to see that, and we're going to try.
Can you explain to the people, to our viewers and listeners around the globe who's listening to the Mekwe Talk program, watching the Mekwe Talk program, more about that act that you just spoke about? How does it work? What happened?
Yeah, the Magnitsky Act, it came into being in, I think it's 2016. There was a Russian journalist who discovered massive fraud in the Russian government involving a whole bunch of high-ranking officials. He uncovered it, and he was jailed and beaten to death in prison. And so the U.S. government, they passed this law with his name, Magnitsky, on it. And essentially, it says that if a foreign government is involved in kleptocracy, thieving of money, if it's involved in corruption, or if it's involved in human rights abuses, then the U.S. government has jurisdiction to hold those responsible by revoking their visas and seizing their assets. And that's exactly what we're asking the U.S. We will be asking them to take a look at in terms of the Prime Minister and his the SOEs that he's asked the the Governor General to proclaim. So we would like to hold all of them responsible: the Police Commissioner, the Minister of National Security, the Prime Minister, and the Governor General.
So what are you saying, Mr. Rattigan, that you're asking the American government to take away the GG visa if he has any?
Yes, indeed. And if he has property any outside of Jamaica, we're asking them to seize that property. You saw what they did with the Russians, right?
Yes.
They used the same act when they were seizing all the yachts and the houses and all, and freezing the accounts. It's the same act that they use. Same act. And there's there's something called the Magnitsky program run by the State Department. You can Google it and look, and you'll see a list of all the leaders and former leaders and people of influence that the U.S. government revoked their visas and seized their property. So we think we have a very strong case against the Prime Minister for invoking the states of emergency where people were held unlawfully for an indefinite period, resulting in lawsuits. Also, on the corruption level, that's just on the human rights abuse. Also, involving, when people spoke out against him and they found these people like the day after under their beds or whatever. They have a top 200 at one point in Jamaica. They can't find the top 200 criminals, but you dare speak out against the Prime Minister, they'll find you tomorrow, right? Rights abuse. And then on the corruption side, we have the Integrity Commission, who they cannot verify his statutory declaration for the past 2 years going on. Well, past 2 years. The next one is due on or before March 31st. We'll see what happens with that. And then there was an investigation conducted on his activities when he was Minister of Education regarding some contracts. The corruption prosecutor decided not to prosecute, but we could also throw that in there and say, look, there appears to be a pattern and practice of his involvement in these types of things. And see what the U.S. government says. If they say, okay, fine, we have enough, then they'll just revoke his visas. And when I say visa, I'm talking about his diplomatic visa as well as his B1, B2, his tourist visa. Let's revoke the whole thing. And then if he has property in St. Lucia or wherever, seize that as well. And then do the same thing for the other people involved. So there's a whole lot of people in Jamaica who would be subjected to this law. And it's just because there's several, but this is just one that we think that a very good case under this one. So we're gonna be running with it.
Has that law ever been implemented within the Caribbean, Mr. Rattigan? You have any idea?
Within the Caribbean, I have to go back and look. I know they've used it against people in Central America, South America, Eastern Europe. I have to go back and look and see if it's...
It is a part of the Commonwealth, Jeffrey, so you can use it against Jamaica.
And the other thing, too, is that the Canada has a similar law, and I believe, don't quote me on it, but I believe the UK has a similar law. But I know for a fact someone reached out to me last night and said there is a version of the Magnitsky law in Canada. So, and then also remember that, and they use it, they use a similar law. It may not be the Magnitsky law, but they used something recently against some Haitian officials in November. They revoked their visas.
In Canada? In Canada? They do it in Canada too?
Well, they revoked their visas and they seized their assets. So they have the tools to address these outstanding issues. So we're going to be approaching our lawmakers and the congressional committees and see how far we can get with this, because we do believe we have a strong case and we do believe it's something that has to be done.
Luke, George Cooke.
And then also, another good point that people are saying Canada and Andrew, wellness warrior, Sophia said they're friends. That's true. But here's something that will trump that. These lawmakers that we're going to see, keep in mind that this year is an election year. November is an election year, right? And so when we go to see them, we're going to make sure we let them know that we are in their constituencies and we vote. And if we don't see any action, then we'll know what to do. That simple. And remember, the cardinal rule for a politician, the first rule of being a politician is to get re-elected. So if you're not listening to and this is the same for politicians all over the world, get re-elected. So if they're not listening to their constituencies, they do so at their own peril. It's that simple.
You also have another law in the United States named FARA. Is it FARA or FARA?
FARA.
The foreign of foreign affairs.
Foreign Affairs Registration Act.
Yes. Tell us some more about that.
Foreign Agents Registration Act.
Tell us some more about that, Mr. Rattigan. How does that work?
It works like this. If you're a U.S. person and you have dealings with a foreign principal, could be a foreign government or foreign business, depending on what it is, you have to report that to the U.S. government. And if you don't, there are severe penalties. And we believe that the members of the bogus organization called the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, that they should register as foreign agents, because they're coordinating, they're collaborating, they're cooperating with the Jamaican government on a variety of fronts. And because of their involvement, and it's not a casual involvement, it's a steady and it's a deep involvement. So they need to register with the U.S. government. Now, I know that might be frightening for some of them because they don't want to do it. Well, if they don't want to do it, then that's fine. In any event, the organization, we don't believe it's registered anywhere. And I've been told that it's a movement. It's nonsense. And I saw where recently a member of the diaspora wrote to the FARA unit over at the Department of Justice, asking them to look into this matter. I'm sure they will. And the penalties range from asking you to comply to 5 years in prison and $250,000 in fine. So we'll see.
Luke, George, Cooke?
Well, Jeffrey, take a bow. You, Rattigan, and the rest of you who have been on this. What I said earlier on is that a lot of people are fearful of the public persecution by politicians who will find them under them bed and show them chimney. Well, I was moved by the man who was saying, look here, see Dr. Hirschang there, and was telling him, you know me. There is not enough development. And I believe what I said to the end of that statement was that there is a groundswell of Jamaicans who have been enlightened by these programs that are prepared to go out there and demand more information and demand more from the government. And I think that that has been displayed in the clip that you show. The Prime Minister, as per usual, show contentment for the people that he is constantly saying that he is serving. Hence, the members of his cabinet and the members of parliament show that level of contentment too. But you can see that there is a change. There's a righteous wind blowing to our back. Keep up the information, help people to develop strategy, help them with the advocacy that they need to go out there, how to ask the question. They may feel that, boy, Wilfred Rattigan, because they might not have your knowledge. And that is why I'm saying that it must start with the people. There has to be a re-engagement of the Jamaican people. We have to take these messages into community and start highlighting the importance of what people need to know and how they get information. What do they do with that information and what actions must come as a result of those information. But again, as I said to you, there will be asking about the acts that Rattigan speak about, setting up these centers, because the Jamaican people they are really tired and they really want a payday. They want to see something happening in their country and they want to hold their leaders to greater account. Before, I don't think they know. I think they know now. And with the groundswell of Jamaicans overseas that are ready to march on their embassy, that is going to be inspiring to what happened locally. And I believe that you're going to find that people are not just going to settle for what the government say to them, but they're going to look to this platform and other platform of this nature for further information. And I think
Yes.
it's a great start, guys. Keep the leg of the race going.
We're gonna open up. Sorry. We're gonna open up the phone lines for a couple of calls, and we're gonna close the program out because I am tired, and Mr. Rattigan look tired too. I don't know about Luke, but I know I'm very tired. So we're gonna open up the phone lines, and the numbers are 954-529-8030. Call in and talk to us. What do you think about what Ambassador Aloun Samba said? What do you think about what is going on in Jamaica, about the plane landing crash landing in Jamaica? You hear nothing from the Jamaican government.
The plane land Jeffrey, so I'm energized. As me tell you before, when Rattigan come on, even a 5-year-old in Jamaica when all of the light gone, I gotta tell you, the government bringing them drugs. And I'm talking about children at the age of 5. Then lack of the light of them drugs are coming. That's the impression of the younger generation of the government of Jamaica. And just like the people in Montego Bay speaking their truth, it's a bad impression that we have left on our young, because that in and of itself creates a double standard why we see so many of our young people moving towards doing wrong things because they believe that this example has been set by our governance structure, so they should follow suit.
Yes.
Maria, big up yourself, Maria. Big up yourself.
Maria said Jeffrey is tired.
And Nordy, you're right. They didn't know about, and Nordy, just so you know, the I keep mispronouncing it. Magnitsky Act, right? That's just one. We have several, but we're just talking about this one because this one is the easiest one. This will be like the low-hanging fruit, so to speak, because this one you don't need a court case. There's no trial. You don't need proof beyond a reasonable doubt. All you need is just reason to believe that the Prime Minister committed acts of abuse, right, against his citizens. And that is, we don't even need no proper, because there's a court case that says that states of emergency are unconstitutional. And what did he do? He ignored that. And I think he declared 2 or 3 more after that. And guess who's complicit in all of this? The Governor General. He had the right, he has the right to say, no, I'm not going against the court, the court's declaration. But he said, no, I'm going to proclaim it. So all of them involved. So the US government has the right now to take away all of them visas. And then guess what? The US government, they share information with the UK, Canada, New Zealand, Australia. I'm calling them the Five Eyes countries. And so the UK could similarly say the same thing, say, no, we don't want you here. Just imagine if if Canada, the UK, and the US said, nope, we're taking these visas away. We're not letting these people into our country. Can you imagine what would happen? If the US said the only time you can come here is when you're doing UN business, which is basically September, 1 week in September. Could you imagine if that ever happened where they said, no, you can't travel here?
So hold on there, Mr. Rattigan. What's the difference of them not traveling, but they can travel to UN meetings?
Yeah, that's an exception. Because if you remember, Castro and all of these people that they were, America had a tension-filled relationship with them, but they were allowed to come to the UN to conduct business. But other than that, they're not allowed to come to the country at all. They have no visa to come in. They get a special visa to come in for UN business.
Okay.
So,
good night, caller. Welcome to the program.
Like his trip the other day.
Good night, Jeffrey. Good night.
Hold on. Sorry, Mr. Rattigan. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, like the last couple of trips that he came in, this past December and the December before, we said, I'm here on national security. That wouldn't happen.
Okay.
That wouldn't happen.
Yes, caller. Go ahead. Welcome to the program.
Yes, good night. First of all, I would like to say congratulations to you guys. You guys are doing a good job, immaculate job.
Thank you.
And the next thing I would like to ask regarding that plane, does the aviation in Jamaica, every plane that's going to Jamaica have to communicate with the aviation there?
Yes, supposed to,
So
because
how can this plane enter Jamaica without communicate with the aviation in Jamaica?
that's a very good question, sir. We're going to try and get some answers from the powers maybe on the ground in Jamaica and let you all know.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night. Good job.
Good night. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Somebody's asking, oh, we need to move faster with the lawsuits, just so you know. And by the way, Maria, yeah, kill me. I wish you could come on. But we have 3 lawsuits pending right now. We have 3 lawsuits that we're working on, and we're just trying to tie up some loose ends and get the lawyers ready, because as you know, the legal fraternity in Jamaica is
Mr. Jeffrey.
One moment, please, sir.
the legal Jamaica is it's small, it's cliquish, and it's hard to find a lawyer with the intestinal fortitude to go up against the government. And the 3 lawsuits we have, they're against the government.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're against our government agency. One of them, I can tell you, one of them is against the Integrity Commission, one is against the Prime Minister's wife, and one is against the Prime Minister. So we're refining the complaint. It's not written yet. We have the evidence, and at some point we will just launch them. So we'll see. But Bert Samuels, by the way, is no longer. Bert is a good friend of mine. We went to school together. He was my head boy.
Yes.
And he informed me that he's no longer doing the rounds in court. He's mostly instructing and mentoring young lawyers in the office.
Right.
So
Yes.
yeah.
Caller, welcome to the program. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Jeffrey, and to your panel. I'd like to direct this question to Mr. Rattigan. Now, Mr. Rattigan, let's say you're successful in applying the Magnitsky Act and the FARA, and it worked, and you lock up a few politicians, yeah? Don't you believe that if the laws are not changed, we'll have the same problem again? If the laws are not changed and enforced to make sure that to be proactive instead of reactive, because what you're doing now is it's good. It's a reactive thing, and you get a few politicians locked up and all of that. But I personally believe if the laws are not changed and enforced to make sure that these things don't happen again, we'll be revisiting this problem very soon, whether PNP or JLP back in power.
Well,
can you answer that question, please, sir?
Yeah.
Well, can have him answer the question, sir.
Well, let me give you an example.
Okay.
There are plenty of laws on
you.
the books. There are plenty of laws on the books. So we don't really need new laws. We need enforcement. And what we need honest, ethical politicians, which we don't have. We don't have a lot of them. But here's an example. The state of emergency can only be issued in 3 circumstances: national disaster, war, and what the third one, Jeffrey? National disaster, war, and
in the state of emergency.
Yeah, there are only 3 instances you can show. Maybe Maria would chime in. I'm looking at the thing here. Yeah, it's war, national disaster, and there's another one.
At risk. If the countries, war is still a country at risk, but I think that there's 3 of them. Marie, if you can help us with the 3.
Insurrection.
Yes,
if it's war, insurrection, or national disaster, right? It cannot be used for police action. It cannot be used as a strategy or a tactic of the JCF. It cannot. It was never intended to be used that way. So what happened? They started using it as part of their attempt to curb crime. And they started detaining people for indefinite periods. And there was a lawsuit, and the judge ruled that the state of emergency as implemented by the government is unconstitutional. And what happened? The Prime Minister went against that. So when we say, we need to change laws, we don't need to change laws. We need to enforce laws or abide by laws. Because anything, just about anything you can think of that's going on in Jamaica, there's a law against it. But people don't abide by it because they feel like they're above it. They just ignore it. They do whatever they want to do. And when I say people, you know who I'm talking about. Not everybody, because there's one set of laws in Jamaica, but it's unequally applied. So that's where the problem comes in. And now you have a court order saying, hey, no, you can't use a state of emergency for that. And yet we find that the Prime Minister is saying, the hell with the judge. I'm going to use a state of emergency anyway. And they went forward with it. So I think once they start going to prison, once they start revoking their visas, once you start taking away, seizing their assets, I think the message will resonate with them. And that's where you're going to find the change will take place. Not new laws, are trying to enforce it in Jamaica, because we know that enforcement in Jamaica it depends on who you are, where you live, who you associate with. But they can't stop us in the diaspora. That's the problem for them. See, in Jamaica, they can stop you. But in here, like, for example, we ask for a permit to protest. We're going to get a permit. In Jamaica, you ask for a permit. You might not get a permit, right? We are going to get it because they said that's a right. You have a right to say your piece. So what's it? Is it legal for the security minister to tell a police not to arrest someone? For the security minister. No, it's not legal. If the law's broken, then somebody and there's something called law enforcement discretion. But no, Larkland, I think I know the incident you're referring to. No, you can't tell the police not to arrest. If there is reason to arrest. And that's the problem we have in Jamaica. That is the problem we have.
Good night. Welcome to Make We Talk. A final call for the night. Good night.
Respect, sir, Larry. A man from Jamaica calling. Big up yourself, Mr. Rattigan, and the team.
Yes, sir.
I love the program. Continue doing it, my brother. You are seeking out for us. Respect you and Mr. Ransom when you're ready. Fling the big stone, then same way. I love what you're doing to Jamaica. Respect, brother.
Thank you very
Yes,
much.
sir. Respect all the time. Big up yourself.
Yes, and I can give you my name because I love what you're going with. I love it. When you're down to the roots of what is going on. I'm going to call you another night. Respect, brother, Tavares. When you keep up the good work, honesty, truth, speak the truth and speak it together, my brother. That's it what it will. He who hide the wrong he did, will press the wrong things still. Continue, I will touch base to you another night and declare myself to you people. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Peter is the name, sir. You know, I feel to tell you.
Mr.
Yeah, Peter is the name. Yes, sir.
I think I know who you are,
I feel someone.
Anyway,
I want to touch base.
we will talk off air.
Yes, sir. When you're ready, we can talk. Respect, my brother. Keep up the good work. You look better at it.
Yeah, man. Big up yourself, brother. Big up yourself. Big up yourself.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rattigan? Oh, hold on. What another call? Good night, caller. Welcome to Make We Talk. Good night. The final call for the night. Good night. Welcome to Make We Talk.
Yeah, Mr. Jeffrey, it's me again, Mr. Rattigan, I don't think you understand the question I answered properly, Listen to exactly what I'm saying. Now, in Jamaica, undeclared conflict of interest is not a criminal offense. Nepotism is not a criminal offense. Yeah? So, you're talking about the state of emergency and all of that, yeah? I'm directly talking about these laws anywhere else in the world. Nepotism and undeclared conflict of interest would be a criminal offense, and one would get locked away for a long time. In Jamaica, it's not.
So giving
That's my point.
go on, giving a contract to a family member is not against the law in Jamaica.
Family member, yeah.
It's not against the law.
It's nepotism.
No. I know it's nepotism. I'm asking. You're saying it's not against the law.
In Jamaica, it's not a criminal offense. Undeclared conflict of interest is not a criminal offense in Jamaica.
Is it an offense?
Anywhere
Let
in
me
the
ask you a
world,
question.
a
Is it an
politician will
offense?
get locked away for a long time.
Is it an offense under the?
What I'm saying, these laws are not.
Caller, hold on. He's asking
Is
you a
it?
question.
Yeah, is it an offense under the Integrity Commission Act of 2017?
Yeah, but yes, it's an offense, but it's not a criminal offense.
But there you go. It's an offense.
No one can go to jail for it.
No.
You can research it if you don't believe.
No. I'm not saying it isn't. What I'm saying to you is that. No. What I'm saying to you is that there are ways to get around that. The fact that you don't have a nepotism law in Jamaica, there are ways to get around. If you're talking about a public official now, there are ways to get around that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because all the time, the Integrity Commission send these offenses. Yeah, but no one can go to jail. The DDP says she can't prosecute because it's not a criminal offense. Undeclared conflict of interest is not a criminal offense in Jamaica. So that's why I'm saying if these laws are not changed and enforced, we'll be visiting this problem very soon again.
No, man.
And there's other laws.
No. Give me that information. Give it to me if you have that information. Let us in the diaspora do something about it, because there are laws. No, there are laws against that in the US applicable to foreign countries. Give me that information, my brother.
I will WhatsApp it to you.
Give me all of them you have. All of them you have. And by the way, if you know of any politician in Jamaica with green cards, give it to me too.
Yeah, man.
Right.
I mean, if I'm clear,
we have to work, man. We have to work. We have to clean up the country now. We have to clean up the country. Have to clean it up.
Of course, I agree with you.
But you must remember to tell the caller that while these are some of these things that he considered.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, man. Reach out to Jeffrey Tavares, man.
Good night. Welcome to Make a Talk.
Yes. Good evening to the panel. I have a question for Mr. Rattigan.
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned something about the military, the head of the military. I forgot her name right now.
Can you speak a little louder?
Yes, you mentioned something about the head of the Jamaican military. The head of, she's a female, it's a female. What are the issues you're having with her? I think she's a wonderful person. She was appointed.
Hold on a minute. Mr. Rattigan don't have an issue with the head of the Jamaican Defense Force?
Someone had mentioned something about her not acting on a previous show, not tonight.
Oh, not done. All right. Let me tell you what's the issue I have with her. All right. The issue I have with her has to do with the state of emergency. Let me tell you all the people who are involved with the state of emergency. The head of the military, the Minister of National Security, the police commissioner, the Prime Minister, and the Governor General. Those 5 people are involved with it. Now, the states of emergency have been ruled by the court to be unconstitutional. Now, when a state of emergency is called, what it means, and you've seen them parading before on the stage, the head of the military and the police commissioner, they're in agreement. Then they take it to the Minister of National Security, and then it's fed to the Prime Minister, and then he goes over to the Governor General and says, I'm asking you to proclaim a state of emergency, because a state of emergency constitutionally cannot take place until the Governor General says fine, and he agrees to it. So that's my issue with her, that she's agreeing, she's part of this conspiracy to have this state of emergency, unconstitutional, by the way, to have it imposed on the Jamaican people, where people are held for indeterminate periods, not charged. That's a human rights abuse. And that's the problem I have with her. Not to mention that, as far as the military is concerned, in terms of the crime fighting, their crime fighting collaboration with the JCF, I just don't see how it's working out for the benefit of the country. I just don't see it. I wish they could come up with a plan that everyone could see, everyone could assess, and it would include the ordinary citizens' participation. We just don't see it. They talk about this Plan Secure Jamaica, but it's theory. It's theory, because the way it's supposed to work, it's supposed to be working since 2016, and here we are, 2023, and the crime rate is still up. And by the way, the Prime Minister came out with this nonsensical statement saying crime is down and it's the lowest it's been in 22 years, but the perception is up. There's so many things to unpack with that statement that this program doesn't have the time for that. So, yeah.
But Rattigan, outside of that,
look, hold on for me. We gotta wrap up because I have been on my foot from 3 o'clock this morning. So we gotta wrap up this and take it up for next time. Is we're gonna come to the end of the program. Your word, Luke, and then we're gonna have a wrap up.
No, Rattigan, also the caller says that she's such a good lady. Obviously, the caller now on a personal level. But outside of that, there has been several abuse of the JDF soldiers and the citizens, and the videos are out there. The reports have been made, and she don't seem to follow those up. She still needs to answer to the Jamaican people why we recruited over 10,000 Jamaican young men for a test run to become a member of the JDF. They were trained, and several of them are back out in the street, and nobody has given them any answer. So while on one hand, an individual may look like a nice person, and nobody say that she's not a nice person, it's just that they have a lot of questions under their belt. You can never report a soldier and get a response from that military base. The soldier seems to be untouchable. While I might agree with Rattigan that she should make a stand, a political appointment like Rear Admiral, whatever her name is, Gomes, I don't see we have the sort of leaders with the backbone in Jamaica to stand up and apply not just the training but the law to say no, we can't go along with that. Right? We cannot go along with that. And on that note, I just see them as public puppet. Those who make stands tend to have to get chopped from the position, but I don't see political appointments and those people having the backbone to stand up to the powers that be.
See, that's what we need, though, right? That's what we need. We need people to stand up and say, look, this is an outrage. And it's not only an outrage, it's unconstitutional, and I cannot be a part of this. I cannot be a part of abusing my brothers and sisters. And so I'm stepping away. That's what we need. We don't have that. So in the absence of that now, you have the Jeffrey Tavareses of the world, the Will Rattigans of the world, the Wayne Lonesomes of the world, you know, and the Jamaican Carloses of the world, and Rupert Francis of the world. You have all of those people getting together and saying, no, we have to do something then. We have to do something. And we have no compunction about doing it, and we have no fear about doing it, because them can't come take me from under my bed. So that's where we are. But we're highlighting the issues, and we're saying to the Jamaican people, there is work to be done. But we understand that you can't move.
Happy and Jeffrey get throw me under the bus, because them can't come take me out of my bed.
What almighty God in heaven.
Yeah, what we're saying is that, you know, they can't do it as expeditiously and as courageously as we can because of you know, past experiences. We can, and so we are going to do whatever we can to help our brothers and sisters in Jamaica to rid themselves of the yoke around their necks.
Yes.
And no apology needed. Exactly. Ron Wanless.
Mr. Rattigan, give me a minute and a half to wrap up. Your closing remarks, please.
It won't take a minute and a half. We in the diaspora, we feel our brothers and sisters' pain in Jamaica, and the pain has been going on for a long time, and we have found a way to relieve that pain. We have found a way to provide relief, not only for ourselves, but for the people in Jamaica, and that is to employ the laws of the United States, the UK, and Canada against what the government is doing in Jamaica. Now, it's not like this is a last resort, because we've been preaching to the Jamaican government for years to say, look, do what's right, provide the things that you said you're going to provide in your campaign speeches, and so on and so forth. And we've been largely ignored. Well, we're going to see if they can ignore us now. I don't think they will be, because there's a force more powerful than them. Their benefactors now will step in, and we've been given the green light. The fact that England and the UK and the US says this thing about corruption, it has to be handled by the Jamaican people. Well, guess what? We are Jamaican. We are Jamaicans, whether we live in Jamaica or outside. And so we're going to see that something is done. We're going to try. And we're supremely confident that we will get it done. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Mr. Cooke, a minute, please.
Not a minute, but let me just respond to
no. Huh?
Not a minute. Not me. No need a minute. But look here, the experience that we here in Jamaica have and what is happening, we don't need to justify my point to anybody that the military is no longer the military that we used to know. The truth of the matter is that there is a lot of indiscipline and a lot of things that are wrong with the government institutions. And that is why we're glad that a partnership has been formed. When you talk about Jamaica, don't talk about it, the good old Jamaica. We have to talk about the current Jamaica. And what is happening in the current Jamaica is that a lot of things that we knew and we used to appreciate to have this structure and to contribute to the society in a positive way have gone south. And this is why we are calling for a national day of just getting people to wrap their head around a Jamaica that we can all believe in. And one of the biggest vision we can do is call for a blackout day on the Jamaican government and all agencies of corruption in the country. And we start from there and we pivot to go to the other part. But don't tell me about the Jamaican military. You don't agree. Just go down in some of the communities that the SOEs were and see the human rights abuse that were carried out by soldiers. Be it as it may, we have good people in the JDF, but it's not the same JDF that we used to know. Soldiers were highly respected by the Jamaican people. Ask the Jamaican people how they feel about them now.
Yes. Thank you very much. I want to say thanks to Ambassador Aloun Samba, former Jamaican ambassador to the United Kingdom, Luke George Cooke, human rights activist, Wilfred Rattigan, retired FBI agent, talk show host, attorney at law. Him wear so much hard. Poor people defend a rebel, everything in one.
No, poor people defend you.
I want to say thanks everyone for coming on. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. Until you hear my voice again tomorrow or some other time, may God bless you and may God bless Jamaica land we love. Gentlemen, have a good night.
Take care of yourselves. Big up.
Go to your bed.
When the game gets rough and this life just seems so tough, make we talk, my people, make we talk. When this town becomes an ugly place, don't let it erase the smile from your face. Make we talk, people, make we talk. Conversation is the key, a guiding light for you and me. Spark a talk and you will see. Conflict solver A to Z. World leaders master the art of self-defense just by talk. So people, make we talk. Hey, we're living in a world that on ourselves we must depend. Make we talk.